Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
But there are a lot of balls that are hitting us, and I thought that DeBeer and Lupa were outstanding to start the match. Another perfect pass. Luper's out of the play. That's a good selection by Glock. What an angle. Oh, my gosh. Sisk sizzling the pits.
Gets blocked, and Merritt-Beason still gets a swing off.
Relentless. Look at the tip. Reach back. A block and cover. Everyone getting low, and then Merritt-Beason getting her feet to that ball to crush it down the line.
Merritt-Beason. There's no place like Nebraska. 21 straight NCAA tournament wins for the Cornhuskers.
As a hitter, it's hard to get blocked, especially after hitting errors and then going for it and just getting stuffed. I mean, it's huge for momentum on our side, and then it just kills your confidence as a hitter. So I think we did a really good job today adjusting, and we had really disciplined blocking, which we really worked on this week of practice.
Good morning. Welcome in to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. I'm Ravi Lulla. I've got Andrew Rogers here with me.
Hey, man.
We are live from Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the H&H Chevrolet stage, and we're trying to get your weekend started off right here on a Friday show. You heard those clips all from the Sweet 16 volleyball matches. Nebraska advances to the Elite Eight with a straight set sweep over Georgia Tech. No, they were dominant.
Anytime this team plays in Lincoln, they're winning.
Yeah, that was
they feed off energy like a wild dog.
That was a dismantling of Georgia Tech. And at this point, I mean, we're down to what? At that point, the 16 best teams in the country, and it looked like they were playing just a regular old non-con game at the beginning of the season. That was an incredibly impressive victory. Honestly, from start to finish, it seemed like they maybe played with their food a little bit at the very end of the third set, but no surprise, they win in straight sets and advance to the Elite Eight against Arkansas. That's coming up on, tomorrow, 5 p.m. That will be in Lincoln as well, with a trip to the Final Four on the line. Before we get too far, the other local team that was still in the NCAA tournament, Creighton, unfortunately fell in a 5-set thriller with Louisville. They fell behind 1-0, and they came back and won a set. They fell behind 2-1. They came back and won a set. Weren't able to get it done in the fifth set.
And that fifth set just kind of got away from them.
It really did. It really did. And it was unfortunate because, there were times like in the second set, I believe Creighton won 25-14. They dominated that set. It wasn't even as close as 25-14. So they had stretches where they clearly were the better team, but Louisville had the better, I guess, morning. I was going to say evening, but they played the thing at 11 a.m. just because it was at the end of our workday. Doesn't make it the evening. It was a thriller. It was a back and forth match. And unfortunately, the Creighton Blue Jays fell short there.
But a great fight.
A great fight. And I mean, a great season. I mean, they were, I think, 29-5, finished the year, their first Sweet 16 since 2016. Coach Booth does an incredible job with that program and with that team. Certainly nothing to be ashamed of there, although I'm sure they would have liked to see themselves advance and make a Final Four, which I do think was on the table for them. I don't know that there was a huge gap between them and the teams that'll make the Final Four, except for Nebraska, because it feels like there's a huge gap between Nebraska and everybody. But an incredible season for the Creighton volleyball team. An incredible season for Nebraska as well. That continues, as I said, tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I'm sure you'll be able to watch that here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. As I know you guys watched the matches as a team over here yesterday afternoon.
I was enjoying some good company with the Hurrdat Sports team, watching the.
Seemed like there was some pizza involved. I think I saw some pizza.
There was some pizza. I didn't have any pizza. I chose to take the healthy route. I had the Hurrdat wrap.
Okay.
and then I paired it with mac and cheese. So maybe it wasn't the healthiest of
I mean,
routes.
life's about balance, you know.
You know what? I found my way to the health. Like the primary meal was healthy,
Yes, sure, yeah.
and then I mixed
You
in,
just
a little bit of fun.
It's hard to say no to mac and
Yeah,
cheese.
but I didn't have a soda, so there was a
All right,
maybe some progress there for at least somebody like me and you.
I will never give up my soda. There's not in a million years.
Yeah, I watched Creighton here, and then I watched Nebraska at home. But just two super talented groups. For Creighton, Nora Sis is just unbelievable.
So good.
She is unbelievable. And then Nebraska just has weapons all over the court.
They're overwhelming.
We knew that. Like we know that. We see that, but are we really appreciating it? Like they are everywhere, high flying, and even when there is a play that is just impossible to get, they are diving on the floor. I mean, there was a moment where Lexi Rodriguez and Harper Murray dove into the stands, like toward the stands off the back line when they weren't getting that ball. It was a kill attempt by Georgia Tech, took a weird kind of like hop off the front row's hands, and it was like a rainbow arch into the stands. Both women are diving on the floor to get, or to at least try and get that ball. I mean, that's just the effort, the max effort that you see from this group in and out, and it's every single point.
Well, it's one of those things that we talk about with the process developing good habits, right? Like their process is we go after every ball. We go after every single ball because they believe, and they're right, they have the talent to get to anything, right? If they give full effort, they can basically do anything. And that's what Coach Cook has instilled in them. That's what the team has really made their identity. And aside, because there's a lot of really talented teams, right? Now, Nebraska might be more talented than all of them, but when you're more talented and you work that hard and you do the right things in terms of your process, that's when you become this type of juggernaut, even with this entire team is coming back next year, man. And we talked with Mitch yesterday, you're going to add in a top 20 recruit in Caroline Juravicius. So you're going to be even more talented than you are this year. That's the crazy thing about this. I did want to shout out just a couple other, you mentioned Nora Sis, a couple other Creighton volleyball players that played incredible, not just yesterday, but during the entire season. Ava Martin and Kendra Waite specifically.
Yes.
Kendra Waite, just incredible, and had 44 assists yesterday. Nora Sis had 22 kills. Ava Martin just incredibly solid all over the place. A couple aces yesterday for Ava Martin. So wanted to make sure some of those other women got their due as well. But as far as Nebraska is concerned, yeah, I don't know. And listen, I get that it's sports, weird things can happen. I don't know how if Nebraska is playing even a B+ game, I don't know how anyone beats them.
Not until you get to the Final Four, maybe even the final, because you'll likely see Wisconsin in the final, and that's going to be the test.
Nebraska has to play their A game to beat Wisconsin.
And frankly, back in Lincoln, I don't know if they played their A game against Wisconsin. They found a way to come back.
Yeah,
against Wisconsin.
I don't think they did. I think Wisconsin. If there's one team that messes with Nebraska mentally at all, I think it's Wisconsin. Like, I think there's a mental hurdle there.
There's some sort of psyche there that Nebraska has to.
And I think it helped that earlier in the year that they did beat them, right? Because that, I think, eliminates some of that. But you have to imagine you're looking at a rematch with Wisconsin down the line here, and that's going to be the test. That's the measuring stick at this point to say, hey, this team, not just for the Big Ten, right? But this is kind of the measuring stick of nationally who you're chasing. Is it Nebraska? Is it Wisconsin? That, I think, is going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. And I'm not going to pretend to be a volleyball expert, but you can just see as you're watching these matches, right? Just the incredible athleticism of Nebraska, which I do think is greater than we see on some of these other teams. You're watching that that Louisville Creighton game,
Mm-hmm.
and the athleticism from Nebraska, it jumps out to you in a way that it, not to say that those women aren't great athletes, because they are, but it's kind of like watching, this is too dramatic, but it's like watching Michigan versus watching like Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michigan's a super good football team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alabama athletically jumps off the page in a different way. That's kind of how I would describe Nebraska versus kind of the field at this point, outside of maybe Wisconsin.
Yeah, but they could always compete against one another.
Yes. Yeah.
But
like that doesn't mean Michigan's
one team is eye-popping.
Yeah, that doesn't mean Michigan's going to lose to Alabama, because I think they could win. I think Alabama's flawed in certain ways, and that actually I think is going to be a good game. But it's just it's watching it looks different. And again, we mentioned how young this Nebraska team is.
Just wait, if they're this pop off the page for you now, Ravi.
I know.
Wait until next year.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say, hey, wait. 3 years, and when they're seniors, like, can't wait to see what they look like.
Next year.
Wait till they look what they look like next year. I mean,
wait till they're more than a year removed from high school.
They're so skilled, and they know where to be. Figuring out like how to be like the next Lexi Rodriguez is going to be difficult, I think, or finding that next Lexi Rodriguez. So I'd be curious there.
Sure.
But as you said, this team is just so incredibly skilled, and it's going to be tough for any NCAA tournament team. Arkansas, Texas, Stanford. I'm just listing them off as I remember them. Pitt, Louisville, and all these teams that if somehow, some way they meet Nebraska in the end, it's going to be tough for them to compete against the Huskers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for anybody to compete against the Huskers, right? That's where we're at in terms of the level of skill that Nebraska has right now. So we'll see how, we will see how it all plays out, but you can watch Nebraska here at 5 p.m. at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill tomorrow. Want to change gears here a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I started with the excellence that we had seen here locally with Nebraska and Creighton. We had some movement in the coaching carousel. That's been pretty quiet. It's been pretty quiet as of late. We talked to our
talking a little East Coast action here.
Yeah, we were talking to our guy Adam McClintock, and he thought there were more dominoes to fall. We haven't seen many of those yet. We did see one yesterday with Manny Diaz. He was the defensive coordinator at Penn State,
the number 1 overall total defense,
and he was hired by Duke as their new head coach.
Which isn't very shocking after what Duke just put together with Mike Elko.
Yeah, they went defense with Mike Elko. It went really well for them. I think they're like, hey, I think we're kind of built
wash,
to play
rinse, repeat
this way, right? My only hesitation is, so I was obviously I was rooting for Jamie Chadwell to get that job. I love Jamie Chadwell. Everybody knows this about me. And I really want him to get a shot at a big time opportunity. And maybe they called him, maybe they didn't. The weird thing about Liberty is they have a ton of money. And I'm not sure everybody realizes that, but they have like filthy amounts of money. So they can pay him well. They're a private university. They can provide him with a lot of the things that you get at higher levels. So I wonder how many times he's been called and just said, I'm okay. Maybe because he might just be waiting, right? He might be waiting for a job that clearly offers better resources and things like that. And I don't just mean pay, right? So while I was disappointed, I
will
my
say
guy
this,
Jamie
though,
Chadwell,
too.
I think that's a factor.
If he's waiting for that job, it will be hard to get that job coming just straight out of Liberty.
That's where I'm at, right? Like, I think you have to look at maybe not, like, I get that Duke may not have the same, although it's not like Duke is in the poorhouse.
No, they're not like, hey,
now
this is one of the teams that's going to be a college football playoff team next year.
It's not like you're talking about Colorado, who has like real money issues, or UCLA that has like real money issues, right? Duke is a place, again, private school, ton of money. The issue with Duke is more we're always going to care more about basketball than we do football. Now, you can view it as a bad thing. You can also view it as a good thing that maybe there's not quite as much pressure at a place like Duke. That might be a nice entrance into Power 5 football. And you've seen guys win there, right? This isn't Duke of 30 years ago where they were basically Kansas State and horrible at the time, right? And you're like, nobody wants to go to Duke. That's scary. This is a Duke team that they were good under David Cutcliffe. They were good under Mike Elko. They're not in a terrible place to take over that program.
And the ACC isn't overly competitive. And
as we saw, because their undefeated champion got left out of the playoff, right?
And so UNC it matches up in that category very well. But Clemson they're going to have a down year next year. Florida State will have probably an up year next year.
Depends on who they get in at quarterback. If it ends up being like a Cam Ward, I think they're going to be right back where they are this year.
They should be exactly where they are.
Now they're going to lose some guys on defense, and they're going to lose Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson. But Mike Norvell's been incredible in the portal. He's been so good at filling needs in the portal, and they've also been putting up really good recruiting classes. So I think they'll be okay.
But in terms of that Texas A&M job, if we just use that as an example for Jamie Chadwell's case, the only reason Mike Elko got that job is because of his previous connection. There were other names out there that Texas A&M could have just went, hey, Kalen DeBoer, I'm gonna try to get you to come here, or Dan Lanning, I'm gonna try to get you.
Well, so it sounds like they struck out on some of those,
which is fine. But
I do think they took some swings.
Yeah, you can take swings, but there were bigger name coaches available than Mike Elko's name. Mike Elko goes to that job because he has previous ties to Texas A&M. That was my wonder, or so we'll call it a concern for Chadwell's case, that if you are at Liberty, how much firepower does Liberty give you in coaching carousel runs?
Well, and that's a fair point, because if you look at he doesn't really come from a coaching tree that I'm aware of. He is kind of out there on an island. He brought up Coastal Carolina. He was, I believe he was under, what's the guy's name? The TD Ameritrade guy that coached the Omaha Nighthawks. He coached under him, I believe, at Coastal Carolina, and that guy didn't have a ton of experience. It's Joe something.
Montana.
Nope. It's going to drive me crazy.
Namath.
Moglia.
Joe Moglia. Thank you.
DiMaggio.
So Joe Moglia came from the business world and ended up coaching a Division I football team. And so he didn't have a ton of connections to the rest of the coaching world. Jamie Chadwell came up under him. He doesn't have a ton of connections to the rest of the coaching world. So he kind of needs to take a job that allows him to either make some of those connections or doesn't require some of those connections, right? So, I look at and I think Duke could have been one of those. I don't think Duke is so high on the Power 5 rankings, so high on that hierarchy of jobs that you have to have some kind of connection like a Texas A&M, right? Matt Rule didn't have direct connections to Nebraska, right? But he had such long reach throughout college football. You could go down to Texas and be like, hey, what did you guys think about him down here? And they were enamored with him. You could go out to the East Coast and be like, what do you guys think about Matt Rule over here? And they were enamored with him. He had long tentacles throughout the coaching business. I don't know that Jamie Chadwell does. He's probably going to have to take a job that he's not in love with, unless he's just okay with being at Liberty forever. That's the other thing that we have to think about is, well, I guess I have to think about, because I'm the one trying to get him a better job, is, some guys are just okay with where they're at.
Right.
If he's well compensated, he's, I know he's a super religious guy, and Liberty's a Christian school. Maybe that's just a good fit for him and he likes it there. I don't know. But what it is for me, I want to see his system at a high level, because I want to see if it works. I want to see if it works against Power 5 competition. I want to see if it works year in and year out to see. I just like seeing different things work, and he runs about as different of an offense as anybody in Division I football right now.
Well, Ravi, you know what? You can imagine, and that imagination could become reality this summer when NCAA gets released.
Oh, I love it.
And you can just probably take Jamie Chadwell off of Liberty, create your own team, use that system, and then you know what? Just run a sim season and see if it works. And if it doesn't, then you don't have to sweat about it anymore.
I'm concerned about it. I feel like I should be Jamie Chadwell's agent.
But Manny Diaz gets that job at Duke. Duke, and he's had previous head coaching experience at Miami.
Yeah, and he was okay.
Wasn't super successful, but he wasn't unsuccessful.
He was better than I remember.
Yeah,
he made 3 bowl games.
He was pretty level. Just a lot of losses for somebody in year three. Year 3 to go 7-5 at a school like Miami probably isn't what you're looking for. But it also came after the COVID-19 season, and so the battle to get back into recruiting was pretty difficult at that time.
Honestly, what I think happened there as much as anything, and this is sort of what happened to Mike Riley too here at Nebraska. I think who was available was more of a factor in him getting fired than what he had actually done. Like Mario Cristobal being available to them, or them finding out like, hey, Mario Cristobal is like interested in this job. He wants to come home to Miami. I think had more to do with Manny Diaz getting fired than the 7-5.
Right, and that could be too.
I think you can look at it and like they went 8-3 in COVID, which was his best year. But you look at it, everything was weird kind of in that couple year stretch there. And I think under normal circumstances, without a Mario Cristobal hanging over their heads, they probably don't move on after 3 years. I wouldn't guess.
Well, so it just depends on the pace of how that program is moving, because in the world today, it seems like you get 2-3 years and then it's like, all right, did you make it work or did you not make it work? Now, Nebraska seems to be a little bit more generous in that category.
Well, with some people they are.
But that's why when last year we were talking about Brett Bielema in Illinois and the successful season that he was able to put together in year 2 of that program. It's like is that the new standard? Is year 2 the standard now instead of year 3? Because it used to always be like, no, I'll give him a couple of seasons. If it doesn't work in year 3, then you got to find somebody new. Maybe it's getting pushed up though, because expectations get set so much higher. You have NIL money in it now, and you should be able to get the talent that you're looking for with the funding and the resources that you have at certain universities. And that's kind of how I feel at like a school like Miami. The window to be successful there is so small because of the rich history of that program, because of the resources that program can offer you. And look, Miami's a school to be to be desired for any college kid. To go to the lowest part of the state of Florida, basically be on the beach and enjoy your time there. So you should be able to get anybody you want at Miami. So if you are getting a 7-5 season in your 3rd season, despite it being a bowl game, yes, maybe a little bit had to do with Mario Cristobal being on the market, but at the same time, it's like, how much progress did we make? Because we went from 8-3 to 7-5, and if I give him one more chance, is it another 7-5 season?
Yeah, and I think honestly, because the 8-3 was in there, he would have gotten more time if Mario Cristobal wasn't hanging over his head. That's just how it seems to me. Coming up, there was a super weird thing that got leaked yesterday from the NFL world, and I have thoughts.
I don't know who wouldn't have thoughts.
We'll get to that and more here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. To Hurrdat Sports Radio. We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. I'm Ravi Lulla. Andrew Rogers here with me as well. Time to set up the show for you because we spent the first half hour not doing that. Coming up at 7:45, we've got a couple really cool guests today. First, we've got Ken Kraetzer. He covers the midshipmen of Navy. He is going to help us preview that Army-Navy game from that side. Coming up at 8:45, we will talk to Bill Wagner, who also covers that game as well. And then at 9:45, we will talk to our guy, Matt Vrzal. No Mike Sauter today. He's a little bit under the weather. I think there's something going around a little bit. So wish Mike the best getting back on his feet as he is not feeling great this morning. But I imagine somebody who was not feeling great over the last couple days was Sean McDermott.
Yeah, somebody a little sick to their stomach,
may say. Maybe for some other reasons. So a story came out, and there's a couple things that we need to address here. So this happened in 2019. That's 4 years ago. That's a minute ago, right?
What were you doing in 2019, Ravi?
2019. I got, let's see.
I made the move to Sioux City in 2019.
I got married in 2019.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because 2019 is the new 2023.
Apparently it is for Sean McDermott. He's reliving.
So you're a newlywed.
Yeah. So it depends on when this happened. During training camp. So yeah, I would have been married by that point. Very, very recently married at that point. So during training camp in 2019, Sean McDermott was, trying to
inspire.
Sure, I think that's a one word we could use.
Fire up the team.
Every morning he would address the team with some allegedly motivational thoughts to get the day going in training camp.
Well, I'm sure he was motivating them throughout training camp.
Yes. These maybe, not maybe. He missed the mark on this one.
Here.
So if you haven't heard, he used the example of the terrorists on 9/11 for a group of people that came together to execute a common goal. Ooh. Which is, I gotta say, not a good decision. That is, first of all, there's a couple things going on here. I first and foremost, obviously that's not anything you should ever make light of, right? That's obvious. It was a clear misstep in judgment from Sean McDermott. And he said he apologized for it at the time. It came out yesterday kind of publicly. So we don't really need to get into like the morality of the comments because we all know it was stupid and bad and dumb. Okay. Mm-hmm. What I find interesting about this situation are two things. Number one, why did it come out 4 years later? Right? People obviously have known about this for 4 years. People are not generally good at keeping secrets, especially in the sports world. They love telling other people things. And then you go look at the standings in the AFC East. And the Buffalo Bills are 6-6.
Yeah, and it's not a record that keeps them out of the playoffs right now.
No.
But it is a record that is below expectation.
They have dramatically underachieved.
Of where they are supposed to finish this year, or at least were expected to finish.
And where they've been the last few years, honestly.
Yeah,
they've
AFC
been
championship game.
They've been the main challenger to the Chiefs in the AFC. Them and the Bengals have been the other two teams that have actually given the Chiefs trouble.
So you kind of think, well, is this like hey, now I have some reason to think twice about Sean McDermott?
Here's what I think happened, right? So we had this conversation a couple weeks ago as we went through the NFL coaches, because Adam Schefter took the over on 10 coaches getting fired, and Sean McDermott was on my list of guys I thought would get fired. They have dramatically underachieved. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, because I kept him off my list.
You did. And I think, obviously you're not getting rid of like Josh Allen or anything like that. Or, there's only so many changes you can make out of your star players. Mm-hmm. You're not moving on from Josh Allen because even though he's not the level, I think, in my opinion, I don't think he's the level that some other people put him at. He is an incredibly talented and successful quarterback, and you're not moving on from that, especially in Buffalo when you've gone through the desert of quarterbacks. I mean, JP Lossman ring any bells? Like, it's been rough out there. But so I think what we're looking at here is, hey, they kind of are thinking about firing him. When you see organizations in that place, a lot of times you start to see these negative stories start to leak a little bit. I go back to the Red Sox when Terry Francona was going to get fired, and you start hearing about the chicken and beer and the fried chicken and beer in the clubhouse, and it was a real loose environment. He couldn't get those guys on track, whatever. It's like, well, it was fine the previous years when they won a couple world titles, but now that we want to get rid of him, it's like, the chicken and beer in the clubhouse. All right. So this is a very common thing that happens.
We're a beef team.
When Bill Moose retired, quote unquote, it's like, he wasn't in the office a bunch. He was in Montana most of the time. Like, well, nobody cared when he was hiring Scott Frost and he was in the office. It wasn't in the office.
Well, you always look for an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to justify the means to the claim.
And it's a PR thing, right? They've known about this for a long time. They obviously didn't think it was a fireable offense at the time. But now that they want to fire him for other reasons, they're like, maybe this should be out in the public so people will kind of know, right? So that's number one, is why it came out now, why I think it came out now. Number two, and this is going to seem like a strange example, but I think it's accurate. All the time when we are second-guessing coaches, we hear people say, well, you think you know better than the coaches? You think you know more about football than the coaches? Like, no, I don't think I know more than football about the coaches. What I do know is coaches oftentimes overthink things. They oftentimes do not see the forest through the trees. They're in the weeds. They are way too close to a situation a lot of the time, because I've been there. I have been in that situation where I have been too close to it to make an objective, rational decision. And you overthink things. How many, just off the top of your head, there's like a million examples that do not cause grief and trauma and don't reference one of the most traumatic events in American history about a group of people coming together to execute a common goal, right?
Yeah. I have two right now just in history.
Yeah. I mean, give me D-Day. One of probably the most extensive and organized military operation of all time.
Right. I think the Battle of 300, like that was the first thing that popped in my head. I thought the Trojan horse
you're going way back, right?
Highly executed.
Even, I saw Oppenheimer this summer, the Manhattan Project. They built a town and developed this technology that had never existed before, and they got a late start on it, and they executed this goal. Now, however you feel about the execution of that goal, it is what it is. But still an incredible feat, right? You have this, and kind of mimics training camp more because they were all isolated in New Mexico. And, there's way better examples. We just sat here, thought of three just off the top of our heads.
And, deep down, you have to know your example's wrong.
Yes.
Right? Like, because even me thinking about, like, I'm picturing myself going to the high school team that I was coaching this fall and saying this story. And thinking in my stomach how sick that would make me to even think about saying.
Yeah.
So the fact that it didn't make him sick to his stomach to say, and that even in here, this is the part that kind of like spoke to me. He said he brought everybody together after practice had started and said, this was the goal, this was the intent, and I apologize if anyone whatsoever felt a certain type of way coming out of that meeting. If anyone misinterpreted or didn't understand the message, I apologize. So it wasn't that he was apologizing for the scenario.
It was the non-apology apology.
It was the apology for.
Oh, I'm sorry if I offended you.
If you were offended, well, so be it.
I'm sorry you took it the wrong way. Like there's not a right way to take it, sir.
Bro, get off the bus, man. Get off.
So that's how I like. Again, this is a weird example of it, but that's how I know for a fact. Besides having been in it as a coach before, that's how I know for a fact that coaches sometimes get so deep in their own heads that they just mess up. And if it can happen with prepared remarks at a training camp, you're telling me it can't happen in a pressurized situation of a critical game?
And that's if it's prepared and it happens.
That's what I mean.
The unprepared is even scarier.
Or happening in the moment, right?
Yeah. Well, how do you react? Oh,
that's what I mean. So it's a strange example, but that's one of the first things I thought of. I was like, man, like if you don't read this and think like, yeah, coaches miss sometimes. I don't know. I mean, obviously you think a lot of other things too about Sean McDermott, but coaches miss sometimes. Yeah. Like, and even when they're prepared and ready to go, they still miss.
The big one is key number one that you gave, though. This came out because Coach McDermott is on the hot seat.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to Ken Kraetzer. He covers Army football. We're going to talk about the Army-Navy game here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Markel Johnson is the fullback. Tight formation for the Black Knights. Murphy in motion. Handoff. Markel Johnson straight ahead. Breaks it at the 20-yard line. Far side of the 15. 10-5. Touchdown, Army! Belke gets it down. The kick is up by Moretsky. Plenty of distance. It's good! It's good! Quinn Moretsky, the pride of Honolulu, Hawaii, wins the 2022 Army-Navy game in double overtime.
May see another one of those.
You certainly might. Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's Andrew Rogers. We're on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, and ESPN Tri-Cities. We are joined now by Ken Kraetzer. He covers Army football. And Ken, we are very pleased to talk to you in front of the big rivalry game for Army and Navy. How are you this morning?
Real good. I'm in downtown Boston. It's a beautiful day. There's going to be a number of events in Boston. They do an obstacle course, tug of war. They're going to have a pep rally at Faneuil Hall, the marketplace downtown. There's a debate team match, a dinner tonight, all leading up to tomorrow's game at Gillette Stadium, a 3:00 start. It's good to hear my buddy Rich DeMarco calling plays from last year's game, a double overtime game down in Philadelphia, won by, as he mentioned, Quinn Moretsky with his field goals to tie the game to put it in overtime and then the game winner. So a lot of excitement. Army had a tough stretch in the middle of the season. They lost 5 straight, including going to play at Syracuse. They lost a game to Boston College. They might have won, and they had a tough time with Troy and LSU. But then they've come back really strong the last 3 games. They were a 17-point underdog at Air Force, and they won 23-3. And that was the score at halftime. Fourth play of the game, Bryson Daly, the Army quarterback, ran about 62 yards for a touchdown and kind of set the tone for the day. And then they won over Holy Cross, a good FCS team. And then last week beat another good team, Coastal Carolina, at home. And they won it just the way Army football fans like it. Army ran for 365 yards against Coastal, passed for exactly 0. And everybody was really happy.
Ken, you mentioned that really tough stretch in the middle of the season. Can you give us some context? Obviously, they had close games against BC, UMass, as you mentioned, and then they had some tough games in there against LSU and Syracuse. But did something change? Because they started off winning 2 out of their first 3. They've won their last 3 since then. Like, what happened in the middle of the season, and what's changed that they've been able to turn it around?
Well, it's what happens in college football. Their starting quarterback got hurt. Bryson Daly, I believe it was in the Syracuse game, where they played Syracuse pretty even most of the way. And then he was not 100% against Boston College, didn't play for a couple of weeks. They put the freshman quarterback, Champ Harris, in against LSU, and as Coach Munkin said, the year before, he was playing for high school in Miami and did the best he could. But then Bryson Daly had a chance to get healthy. He's from Abernathy, Texas, and as I said, he really surprised everybody at the Air Force game. They played in front of 52,000 at the Broncos Stadium, and Army between special teams and the offense. And what the big thing, and people will notice, there'll be a lot of talk on the broadcast tomorrow, is Army changed the offense for the Coastal Carolina game. Army had been trying to do the shotgun offense all year. They brought in a new offensive coordinator, Drew Thatcher, to implement it. And Coach Munkin felt it just wasn't working. So they went back to the old offense of pound the ball, smash mouth Army football. And as I said, they got 365 yards against a good Coastal team. And they went back under center. And Army's got these 2 big fullbacks, Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson Riley, both seniors, both 255 pounds when they've been on a diet for 2 weeks. And they are very hard to stop in short yardage. I think both of them are going to be in NFL camps next year. So they're going back to it. I think Army's, Coach Munkin talked about the difficulty in playing both a shotgun offense and a under center offense. He said after the Coastal game that all the plays are different. But somehow or other, Bryson Daly ran it, made the change smoothly. And even more, Army's been playing a freshman center by the name of Brady Small from New Jersey, a big 295-pound player. And he's been playing most of the year, and he made the switch from doing the shotgun snap to the under center snap without, missing a beat. No dropped snaps, and which was really remarkable. But that's what they're going to be talking about. It gives Navy a lot to think about. Everybody's talking about, well, is Army going to do some plays from shotgun, some plays from under center? I think they're going to run the fullbacks tomorrow until Navy can stop them.
Well, Ken, I'm happy that you brought that up because I was going to ask about the game plan, because it doesn't seem like there are any real mysteries to the game plan for both of these teams, right? Whichever team runs the ball more effectively and prevents the other team from doing the same usually wins this game.
Yeah, I think that's a different element this year. Coach Munkin tried to adjust to the different. The NCAA changed the downfield blocking rules, really eliminating blocking below the waist beyond the tackle box. And so he made the adjustment. Now about Navy, what they have is they got a really sharp quarterback named Xavier Arline. We met him last year. He's going to become a Marine Corps officer, number 7. He's played the last 7 games. He can run the ball. He's got 1,013 yards. He's got 7 touchdowns. The Army staff believes that they're going to use multiple quarterbacks in the game. Ty Levitt played in the 2021 game for Navy that they beat Army at the Meadowlands. And they also have a good-looking freshman named Brandon Woodson, they think may get in the game too. So they're trying to throw different wrinkles at each other, but it's about who manages the ball the best, who avoids any fumbles, who can avoid an interception. Navy's got an aggressive defense. Their new coach is Brian Newberry, who was the defensive coordinator for a number of years there. And they had 28 sacks this season and 14 fumbles that they generated, 10 interceptions. So they've got a 24-11 turnover margin. So that's what they're going to be doing. It's really who can manage the ball better, who can manage the clock, and it should be a great game.
Ken, I wanted to ask you about Jeff Monken there. He's, I think, unquestionably the most successful modern coach in Army history. What has he been able to do to be able to, I mean, obviously there's a lot of challenges and limitations about coaching football at one of the service academies. What has he been able to do to have relatively consistent success over the course of almost 10 years now?
Well, I've worked with Coach Monken since the day he arrived 10 years ago, and he is an incredible leader, number one. And, you got 150, 175 people involved with the football program between players, coaches, trainers, managers, equipment guys. And Coach Monken has every single person in the organization going full speed in the right direction all the time. And that pays off. He built up the offensive line. Army used to have very small offensive lines before he got there. And this year they have all 300-pound players. The first time you've probably seen that in a service academy. Mm-hmm. And they've recruited the country real well, brought in players. And he brings in players who want to serve our country in the U.S. Army. We always talked about representing the 1.2 million soldiers of the U.S. Army. And, the great things that some of the graduates are doing over, in the Army, deployments, advancing in their career, serving our country. And he really embraces that. And, I think we have 35 Army seniors. We were at their branch night last week where they all stand up in an auditorium, 1,000 members of the senior class, and they get told to open their envelope. And it's a branch of the U.S. Army, infantry, armor, field artillery, cyber, signal, all of the branches of the Army, medical. And he embraces that for his players and, just treasures representing the U.S. Army. And we love it when it rains because they'll always say, rain doesn't stop the U.S. Army.
Ken, we've got about a minute and a half here left with you. I'm just curious, obviously you've been covering Army football in this game for a long time. Just what's your favorite part? You mentioned some of the other stuff that goes on leading up to this football game. Just what's your favorite part about this game and this rivalry?
Well, I'll tell you, last year I had the privilege of being down on the field before the game, and there's a number of things. They do an exchange of the exchange students. They call it a prisoner exchange. And then, watch for that. And then, before the game, the players before they're introduced, all the dignitaries from the Army are out there. The chief of staff of the Army is General McGonville last year. The Secretary of the Army, the chairman of Secretary of Defense is a West Point grad. And when the teams were introduced, they come out, they run out of the tunnels. Army came out first and 4 helicopters fly overhead. The Navy's introduced, and they come out on the other side of the field. 4 jet planes fly over the stadium. And last year, the team ran right by where I was standing. They ran out to the middle of the field, and they ran right by where I had my little camera position. And what a moment. And they do the coin toss and get set for the kick, and they play Tsunami, and everybody's waving their caps. It's an incredible moment. But the biggest moment of the day for the Army-Navy game is singing second. After the game, they sing the alma maters, and the losing team sings first, and the winning team sings second.
It's a big one.
Ken Kraetzer, he covers Army football. Ken, thank you so much for joining us. Really special event going on this weekend, and I hope you enjoy getting to cover the game.
Hey, thanks. Great to talk to you guys.
Hey, thanks, Ken. That prisoner exchange, too, is funny because how it works is they were sent to the other service academy for the fall semester.
Yeah.
And so then they had to go through school.
Literally exchange them
and
back.
then they're exchanging them back. So it's a cool tradition.
That's Ken Kraetzer. He covers Army football. We appreciate his time. Coming up next, we've got a little Christmas movie debate to settle here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Ooh.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla. Andrew Rogers here with me.
It's a Christmas movie. Oh.
Almost.
Oh,
we're almost there.
Oh, we're not there yet. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I just got excited. I'm like a kid.
Listen, it's all
kid
right.
on Christmas.
We were joined in the previous segment by Ken Kraetzer. He covers Army football. That was on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline. We're going to get into some Christmas movie debates here. So if you want to join us on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline, you can as well. It's 888-638-4876. I imagine some of you all will have feelings about those. I'm sure that
everybody.
I'm sure that people will chime in on that YouTube channel as they're already popping off in there, as they always are. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a message from our friends at the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Using your seatbelt saves lives and prevents injuries, but only if it is properly worn. Make it click. I know people are driving all over right now. It's the holiday season, going to visit family, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you get there safely. Make it click. Seatbelts save lives. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Andrew doing his best flight attendant impression here, like trying to teach you how to click the seatbelt and stuff. And it can never be.
Yeah, sorry. Let me hold it in front of everybody. You pull the strap. Then you got to put your life preserver on. Inflate it.
Well, that's not in a car. That's on planes. You usually don't have usually not wearing a seat.
Normally you don't have flight attendants though on
that's true.
in
but
cars.
You were just kind of you're kind of doing your thing there. All right, so here's what we have. We wanted to do a Christmas movie bracket. And so we spent a good amount of time determining which movies deserve to be in the bracket. Much like the NCAA selection committee. I use that one rather than college football playoff committee because I feel like we did a good job.
Well, there's probably a Florida State in our bracket.
Yeah, I think so. We didn't leave any undefeated teams out for sure. We may have left out, some fringe teams. Like this is more of a 12-team situation, although 16 for us.
Right.
There may have been some fringe teams, but they weren't going to win the national championship. All right.
Sorry, Mizzou.
They were. Yeah, Mizzou. You're not going to make the cut there, bud. So we put together 16 movies. We put them into a bracket, and but before we do that, we have an omission that we'd like to address here.
And if it's said on this show, it's a fact.
It is a fact.
It's going
accurate.
Down into the history books, and nobody else can argue it.
Yeah, that is this is a Pharaoh of Egypt, so let it be written, so let it be done situation. Once we have said it, it is written in stone.
Yeah, just like the Commander-in-Chief trophy goes to Army or Navy or maybe even Air Force, because there's an odd scenario where Air Force gets the trophy somehow. The Commander-in-Chief gave us the power to have multiple things that are set in stone, and this is one of them.
We have left Die Hard off our Christmas movie
because
list.
It's not a Christmas movie.
Because it's not.
It's a Christmas movie.
It is, Shane. Just because it takes place on Christmas Eve doesn't make it a Christmas movie.
So here's the distinction that I make. Okay, there's a lot of movies that happen around Christmas, right? Another example of this that a lot of people watch at Christmas is Love Actually. Happens during the holidays. Guess what? Christmas is not the central theme of the movie. That is what makes a Christmas movie, not the fact that it happens near Christmas.
But even if it doesn't happen near Christmas, I mean, Christmas could be celebrated anytime between Thanksgiving and, the end of the year. We can agree on that, correct?
So, Shane...
No, Christmas is actually celebrated on December 25th. I don't know if you know this. It's the same day every year.
But, I mean,
it's on the calendar.
You go and you visit your family or whatever, and you could have Christmas on any time during that time period. And... So, I mean, there's a lot of Christmas themes there.
There's not. So, Shane, is Toy Story a Christmas movie? Because he opens up Buzz Lightyear on Christmas.
Yeah, but
Christmas or is his birthday?
Well, one of them is Christmas. He opens up one.
One of them, I think, is on Christmas.
One of them, one of the Toy Story movies is he opens up a toy on Christmas. Does that make it a Christmas movie?
I mean, that was
it doesn't make it a Christmas movie. It's the answer. It's a quick answer.
That was just a little flashback, though.
Doesn't matter. There's Christmas featured in it.
But if
you said was, is it around? Is Christmas
featured? It's featured
in the movie.
It's featured throughout the movie, though. It's set on one single day.
No, sir. Doesn't matter what day it's set on. Those events could have happened at any time. Those events were not predicated on it being Christmas.
And
could have been any employee
party. I haven't seen
party.
Toy Story for the longest time, but Matt in the YouTube says Buzz was the birthday. It was on the birthday.
Yeah, Buzz was the birthday. I think there was a different one that he got on Christmas. But the
homie.
What?
He said homie in there too.
Oh, okay. Thank you for adding that, Shane. The point
10 seconds later.
The point of a Christmas movie is that the theme of the movie, the central events of the movie are happening because it is Christmas. It is not a movie that just happens to take place around Christmas time. That is the difference, okay? That holiday party at Nakatomi Plaza
is trying to get everybody out of there safely so they can be
that could
with
have
their
been
family.
any holiday. That could have been any party. It could have been any party.
But it wasn't.
To be Christmas.
It was a Christmas party, though.
Yes, but the point is, it could have been any time. Christmas movies could not take place at any time. They have to take place at Christmas.
It's not a Christmas movie.
Die Hard movie could take place at any time. Nothing about that movie.
So Die Hard 2 isn't a Christmas movie either?
None of them are Christmas movies.
All right.
I'm glad we settled that.
See, again, what happens on the show?
Fact.
If it's settled,
so let it be written, so let it be done. All right. So Die Hard movie, not in there. Not a Christmas movie.
Glad we got that out of the way.
We're done here. Matt Rules Smock says, if Die Hard isn't on your list of Christmas movies, I just don't think I can trust your judgment anymore. Well,
don't worry. Eric said our bracket's already busted.
you heard my infallible logic. And if you can't follow that, then I don't think I can trust your judgment anymore, Matt Rules Smock.
There's
all right.
so many movies out there that feature
that are actually about Christmas.
But no, I'm just saying feature Christmas
yes.
scenes that don't make them Christmas movies.
Yes. People just like to do the Die Hard thing because at one point it was like a hot take and they're like, oh, Die Hard's my favorite Christmas movie.
Matt, guess what? You can still watch it around Christmas time because it is awesome.
You can watch it whenever you want.
Yep, and that's the beauty of Die Hard. It's not a Christmas movie. But you know what you can't watch whenever you want? Or that you shouldn't probably watch whenever you want? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
I don't know if that's slapping in May.
No, it's not really. It doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit the same on the 4th of July. You know what hits the same on the 4th of July? Die Hard.
Is it just throwing you off because there's no snow in Die Hard?
No, I don't care about the snow.
Shane, we already settled this with you. You said all right.
Yeah, you accepted the ruling. So
you took the plea deal. Boo.
So here, let's get our actual movies included in the bracket. Let's list them off. Let's do our 1 seeds first.
Elf, Home Alone, It's a Wonderful Life, and A Christmas Story. Those came in as the 1 seeds.
Classics on the 1 seeds
bracket.
Let's do our 2 seeds.
Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
The Grinch. We chose the Jim Carrey version,
the live action
for this bracket.
Yeah.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer makes that appearance here, and Miracle on 34th Street.
Old school. That one is old school. Okay, 3 seeds.
White Christmas.
Okay.
Because I was told that if we leave that off the list, Ravi's wife would never forgive us.
Yeah, no. So that is her favorite Christmas movie by far. I'm not going to show any bias when voting on which one goes which way, but I did have to include it. Otherwise, I was going to be in trouble.
Santa Claus is coming to town. The claymation. That is the 3 seed.
I did love the claymation Christmas movie when I was a kid. I didn't realize that's what it was called, so I thank you for educating me.
The Santa Claus. This one's kind of a sleeper. Tim Allen's The Santa Claus as a 3 seed.
I think people forget about it. Very quality movie.
And The Muppet Christmas. That is a
Muppet Christmas Carol. Yeah,
that is a Ravi.
That is a Ravi submission. Yes, that's very important to me growing up.
And then your 4 seeds: Frosty the Snowman, A Charlie Brown's Christmas. All Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yeah, because they're all the same movie.
And the Polar Express. Yeah, all Hallmark Christmas movies are the same. You know, a girl comes back from the big city.
Big city
she's
girl.
a lawyer. Her car gets stuck in the snow, so she's forced to stay in this town.
It gets towed by some guy she went to high school with.
Right, and sure enough, the town she's staying in is the one that she's representing against.
Yes.
So she's supposed to take over this town for this other big corporation, but then she falls in love with the guy from high school.
And then she has to save the town.
She's saving the town.
And she gives up her big city job.
And all of a sudden,
to be a Christmas tree farmer.
Yep. And all of a sudden, she's making cookies with old ladies in a shop. And then, you know what? They kiss at the end. It snows.
There's some very minor misunderstanding at some point that makes the whole thing seem like it's going to fall apart. And she's going to head back to the big city. But it's all resolved over some milk and cookies and usually at some sort of Christmas pageant as well. So all Hallmark Christmas movies are the same. And I think most of them have Gretchen Wieners from Mean Girls in there. She's in a ton of those.
Also, before we get into our picks, Eric comments, and Eric's a diehard fan. He believes Die Hard should be a Christmas movie. He says, I can watch Elf whenever I want. It's a great movie. No, you watch Elf around Christmas.
I will say Elf is maybe the one that I could watch other times.
I can't. I can't.
I can. Elf
I mean, other people maybe, and I love Will Ferrell, but if I'm watching a Will Ferrell movie, it's not Elf.
Yeah,
unless it's Christmas.
That's fair. All right, so that is the bracket. Let's start. We're going to go through these.
Elf taking on the Polar Express.
Is that part of it right there? If it's a Christmas movie, a real Christmas movie, you only watch it at Christmas time.
Yes,
I think primarily.
So Die Hard not being in your guys' mind, not being a real
because
Christmas.
I watch it other.
You can watch it whenever.
Times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not just watching, like I said, Frosty the Snowman in May.
Yeah. No. You're not just watching the Santa Claus for gigs. For kicks and gigs.
No, I'm watching that when after Thanksgiving is when my Christmas movie kick sets in.
So mine starts after Halloween,
which is fine too,
because
you put up Christmas lights, you're getting the tree ready. Like my kick of Christmas, is right after Thanksgiving.
My wife is adamant that we start Christmas, the celebration, November 1, and that's the latest I could get it pushed. So. We get the Christmas movies rocking and rolling on November 1 as soon as she every year at midnight on Halloween she starts playing Christmas music because that is my cool. Cutoff date.
Yeah, she's like my mom.
I'm like, listen, I'll give you all of November and December, okay? I'll give you all of those, but if you play that before November, we're gonna have problems because there's just not enough different Christmas music for me. And so you hear the same songs over, like All I Want for Christmas. Elvis, nice. You get the Mariah Carey all over. You get the White Christmas. You get
All I Want
exactly
for Christmas is you.
Not quite as good as Mariah does it, but you're in the neighborhood there. So yeah, I start watching them November 1, but a lot of people do right after Thanksgiving. You can watch Die Hard any time of the year. You don't have to. There's enough good Christmas movies. You don't have to throw Die Hard in there. All right.
Okay, so here's how the bracket works.
All right.
Ravi and I each get a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know each other's choices.
Yep.
And no matter what you choose, if in the first one I choose the Polar Express just because I like that more than Elf, and you choose Elf, it's tied 1-1. You get one trump card to play.
So here's how I envisioned it happening is if you try and play a trump card, the other person has to accept your trump card, and in exchange, they get an extra trump card.
An extra trump
card.
Yes.
So like if I am like, hey, I am dying on the Elf hill, you have to accept that I am using a trump card there. And if you do not accept it, the vote goes to Shane to tie break.
There it is.
So it's not a true trump card. It's like, hey, it's like a token, but you get to use that token back on me.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we each get one.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure out how many Shane messes up for us down the stretch.
Yeah, which is probably a lot, but it's fine.
All right, Elf and Polar Express.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's Elf for me.
It would be Elf for me as well.
Yeah, this
the
is
Polar Express is a great movie.
Very solid.
Very good animated movie. It just can't compete with Elf.
So there is a weird thing with Polar Express that it was like on the early edge of CGI in terms of the animation. And so there's something a little eerie about like the faces, like the children's faces in the CGI. It freaks me out a little bit. So while it is a good movie, there is part of me that's just like, are you going to try and jump out of the screen and murder me? Crazy children in the Polar Express.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, what do you want for Christmas this year?
Yeah, no, I and then I would drop kick them like we did Chucky, like we said we would Chucky yesterday. So yeah, even though I do think Polar Express is a good movie, it came up against the 1 seed of Juggernaut and Elf here.
What gives?
All
I found were some stupid pair of underwear.
So no arguments on that one. What do we got?
5:12, 15 minutes ago. Okay. Yes, we're going with Elf.
Elf. Yes. Moving on.
Next on the Christmas movie bracket, White Christmas versus Miracle on 34th Street.
See, this is an interesting matchup because they're both old school Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go White Christmas on this one. Miracle on 34th Street, I probably liked more as a kid. You know, you got the Santa Claus deal and all that there. As an adult, I've seen White Christmas dramatically more, and it actually holds up okay. So I'm gonna go White Christmas here.
I am going to go Miracle on 34th Street.
Okay.
Okay. I love the story of the divorced mother, and the nice man that plays Santa Claus at Macy's, and then it's the parade and everything, and the girl that doesn't believe in Santa, and then the whole turnaround story there. Hopefully I didn't ruin the 1947 movie for anybody else.
Spoilers, man.
Jeez. It just came out. So if you missed it,
just 75 years late, guys. Just right there.
It's cool though. But it's a fantastic movie, and truthfully, I haven't seen White Christmas.
Okay.
So I have to go with Miracle on 34th Street.
I'm trying to think if, I want to use my token here or not. I think we let this one go to Shane.
I'm good with going to Shane here too. Shane, you get the choice of moving on White Christmas or Miracle on 34th Street.
Probably not a fan of either one, but
just remember, Shane, if you don't pick White Christmas, Natasha's probably not going to make you cookies anymore. So
just remember, Shane, if you are bullied at any point in time,
not bullying, just point out facts. Just point out facts.
I'll be your right-hand man in a fight.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to go with White Christmas.
There we go.
That's the dang cookies, man. The pastries.
That's
a trump card.
That's totally on me.
I bring him in for him all the time. He loves those things.
Unbelievable.
All right, so White Christmas, moving on.
Christmas Vacation against A Muppet Christmas Carol.
So I don't like the Christmas Vacation movie. I don't enjoy any of the vacation movies. I'm not a fan. So
the most ridiculous claim of all time.
I am gonna go Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah, you're wrong. And Christmas Vacation is moving on. I'm playing my trump card. You don't even have a choice.
All right.
Christmas Vacation is my favorite movie of all time. It's one of the funniest movies of all time. The lines in that movie are absolutely incredible. I repeat them all year long. That's a movie that if I was forced to watch, Shane, in May, I probably would.
That's like having
but I also wouldn't enjoy it like I would after Thanksgiving.
That's like having two Big Ten teams face off each other in the first round, like Michigan versus Wisconsin right there.
Yeah, and A Muppet Christmas Carol's Wisconsin, and Ravi somehow, some way was able to get me to pull a trump card on it. It's unbelievable.
Listen,
Christmas Vacation,
all about strategy. All about strategy. All right, what do we got next?
Frosty the Snowman and A Christmas Story.
So this is probably not probably, it's definitely another hot take. I hate A Christmas Story. I do not enjoy it at all. So I'm going Frosty here.
I wouldn't go as far to say I hate A Christmas Story. It's not like one that if I see it on TV, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna click and just join, mid movie.
Yeah.
Frosty is iconic. But that's also another one where I'm just like, I'd probably scroll past it too.
Frosty's pretty nostalgic for me.
It is, and don't get me wrong.
From childhood.
Yeah, it's great, and it's a shorter movie.
It is a shorter movie.
So you can feel comfortable watching it and then being like, okay, let's try something else.
You can just get through it. I even when I was a kid, I just have never enjoyed A Christmas Story.
I'll choose Red Ryder BB gun, though.
All right, I'm going to trump card this one.
Whoa!
Yeah.
This one's trump card.
I'm telling you, I hate A Christmas Story.
Good. Because then when it faces off against Christmas Vacation, you're screwed.
That's fine. I'll take Christmas Vacation over A Christmas Story any day of the week.
Okay, so Frosty the Snowman
Frosty's moving
on.
We're going to have a lot of Shane decisions coming up.
Yeah,
here.
Shane's going to have a ton of decisions. We used our trump cards
early.
We
used them early.
We used it in the West Division.
No, we used it all in one division. All right.
Okay, let's get through the bottom half of the bracket here. It's a Wonderful Life against Charlie Brown's Christmas.
So I'm going to go Charlie Brown's Christmas here. It's a Wonderful Life. I understand it's a classic movie. It is a real bummer for like 98% of that movie, and I just don't want to be depressed at Christmas. Like, that movie is a super downer for 98% of the movie, and then it's happy at the end when they get, in spoiler, they get everything figured out. But I don't want to, like, that's a real downer of a movie to watch at Christmas. So I'm going Charlie Brown Christmas.
It's a Wonderful Life. It's a great movie. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But I am a Peanuts guy through and through.
Absolutely.
So I am personally going to lean, and this is going to be a shock to the nation.
It's a big upset. One of our 1 seeds going down.
Charlie Brown will move on for me.
That you heard it here first. Andrew says It's a Wonderful Life is trash.
No, I think I used the word wonderful.
No, it's just it's too depressing
fantastic.
for me. Like, it's too depressing to watch at Christmas.
I don't know. I don't find it super depressing. I find it heart-wrenching.
I mean, it's a real downer, man. I don't know. The premise of the whole movie is the guy's trying to kill himself. Like, that's the whole movie.
Okay.
It's a pretty big downer.
I mean, yeah, but like I like the story. Like, I'm there for the story.
Fair.
It's a Wonderful Life, man. It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, let's move on. This one is gonna cause maybe a little fist fight here.
Uh-oh.
The Santa Claus against the Grinch Jim Carrey version.
I don't know that this is going to cause a fist. I don't know. I don't know where you're at.
No,
on this
I mean
one.
like just maybe out.
In public.
In public.
Yeah, it might.
I'll go first. Let me go first here.
Okay.
I just watched the Santa Claus.
Okay.
I'm not much of a Jim Carrey Grinch person. I know that the Grinch as like a human is very like popular, super sarcastic. The Jim Carrey-isms are popular, but that's just not for me. Like, if I chose a Grinch movie, it'd probably be the new animated Grinch movie. I really enjoyed that one.
Very solid.
But I will go with the Santa Claus because Tim Allen is hysterical. One of my favorite actors. And that movie to the series it had was incredible too. The Santa Claus takes it home for me.
Yeah, I actually agree here. I'm a big Santa Claus guy.
All right.
I am. Like, I like the Jim Carrey Grinch a lot. It probably is my favorite version of the Grinch. There's some quotable lines there. I very much enjoy the dog, his little dog in the movie. I like the Grinch a lot, but the Santa Claus is like an all-time fave Christmas movie for me. It's really, really good, really, really funny. Probably underseeded here. Maybe it didn't have the best non-con record.
No, you know what?
But it was, this is like
way to lose games they shouldn't.
This is like early 2000s Gonzaga, undervalued but overperforming. That's the Santa Claus here.
And we have VCU and Charlie Brown's pick.
Watch out for
making headway.
Watch out for George Mason here. We will have more of our Christmas movie bracket coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Is this elevator music or Christmas music?
What Christmas song is this, Shane?
We can't play real Christmas music.
I know, but this isn't. I don't even recognize this.
This seems like the high shot of a Christmas party in an office, right?
Yes.
Like you just got to see the camera going around the room.
Is that a good Christmas movie? Is it Office Christmas Party?
Oh, that was okay.
I haven't seen.
It was
that.
okay. We had some. So Travis here brought a really good point to this whole Die Hard situation. Do you want to guess when Die Hard was released?
Die Hard was released. Well, Bruce Willis was young.
No, I mean, like, what part of the year? It was 1988, but what part of the year?
June.
It was in July.
Oh!
You know when they don't release Christmas movies? In July. Debate over. We are done here. Also, if you suddenly hear both of us get the like comical hook around our necks pulled off the stage, it's because our boss has suspended us for blaspheming It's a Wonderful Life. But that's okay. We're negotiating our suspension package right now. So as we continue on here, some some good comments on the YouTube stream. And Brent says, I listened on the radio, but had to pop in to say you guys are going to lose listeners over this tournament. He says, if Home Alone doesn't win, I don't know if we can respect your takes again.
We're about to get to Home Alone.
Travis says, I have nothing but the best Christmas movie takes. Listen, Brent, it's okay. Christmas movie takes and sports takes are very different. It's all right.
I mean, the Bears fans, sometimes they're the same.
Yeah, also, like, if you're a Bears fan, no offense, but
hey, Brent's a Bears fan too.
I know. I don't know how much I can trust your judgment.
Whoa.
If you're a Bears fan.
Easy guy. The wall of shame. Not Shane. Shame.
No, that's the wall of Shane. It's his little box over there. All right. So
I'm putting it up here, and I may box you in.
What's next on our bracket?
Still in the first round, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer against Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Ooh, this is a tough one. Couple of classics. I believe both originally aired on television. You've got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and then the claymation one, right? So the claymation one is it's got a very classic look, and I'm very nostalgic over that one. I think I'm gonna go Santa Claus is Coming to Town here.
You like that?
I do. I like the claymation one a lot.
So,
and I had forgotten about it until you brought it up to me yesterday.
That movie is a staple in the Rogers household. It is my dad's favorite. He I just pulled up a picture, and it's the Heat Miser. And I find that funny. No, but that is that a different movie, The Heat Miser? Like all of those different like creatures.
I don't remember.
Who am I thinking of?
I have no idea.
Who's like the guy in town that hates Christmas?
I thought that was the Heat Miser. Is that not him?
That's Burgermeister.
Oh,
Burgermeister. That's who I was thinking of. Heat Miser. Heat Miser and oh goodness gracious! Now I'm messing myself up. Heat Miser. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Okay, yeah. So that's in that movie.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
I wasn't wrong. But Burgermeister was who I was actually thinking of when I said Heat Miser. Okay. Anyway, Santa Claus is Coming to Town is a Rogers staple, but Rudolph is, gosh, that's a tough one too.
I mean, Rudolph's a classic. Rudolph is a classic.
Is that, how would you consider Rudolph? In terms of how the movie was like filmed, like, so Santa Claus Coming to Town is claymation. What is Rudolph?
That one is
Rudolph more like just like moving like each individual character as the movie.
That one might be a claymation as well, actually. I think they both are.
Are they both claymations?
Yeah, I think so. I think they both are claymations.
Okay, because Rudolph that's a great movie as well.
It is, yeah. It's a classic.
But I will lean Santa Claus is Coming to Town just because it has it gives some nostalgic vibes for me.
Yeah, I think so.
So that is what I'll rest with. Mike Delaware chimes in. Most underrated Christmas movie, Jingle All the Way.
I'm not a big Sinbad guy.
So yes, if both are claymations, what a great pairing that was in the first round.
I think it looks like, I'm not sure.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town is the winner.
Is moving on.
Is moving on. And then Home Alone against all Hallmark Christmas movies. I'm sorry, Mom, but to no one's surprise, Home Alone will be moving on this round.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna stand for the Hallmark Christmas movies here. I did feel like they had to be included because they are a big part of a lot of people's holiday traditions. Not good holiday tradition behind you, but they are part of traditions. And because a lot of partners in law firms in New York decide to be Christmas tree farmers just on a whim. But I think we're gonna stick with Home Alone here, the classic.
Okay, we'll go back up to the top in round 2. We'll call it how can we spin Elite 8 into Christmas?
Elite 8 Crazy Nights. I think today is the first day of Hanukkah.
Okay.
So, holiday season.
Yeah, sure. Christmas
adjacent. It's holiday season. Holiday season, right? I don't know. It's fine.
Elf and White Christmas meet in the second round.
Yeah, so this is Elf for me. As much as I appreciate White Christmas, Elf is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. So it's Elf for me. Not a lot of debate here.
My mom chimes in. All of those are claymations, is what she said, with Rudolph and
I think it was a very common use back then. Yeah,
we appreciate my mom. I'm not going to say what she said about what we said about Hallmark movies.
Appreciate your Mama Rogers on the claymation help there.
Yep. I was going to skip right past the Hallmark movies line that she texted me as well. Elf moves on for me as well. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? That
we like to stick to our four main
is
food
the one
groups.
moving on.
Candy canes, candy corn, and syrup.
Mm-hmm. That is indeed true. Why wouldn't it let me move Elf on?
I don't know.
It made me click White Christmas.
Listen, the computer has thoughts on our movie bracket.
No, I don't want White Christmas. Take it away. All right, well, we know it's Elf. Christmas Vacation and Frosty the Snowman.
I mean, this is Frosty for me. I know you're going to go Christmas Vacation.
Shane,
what do we have here?
Now Frosty is pretty solid. I mean, there's a lot of
classic. It's a classic.
Like the second one's terrible, but
we're not doing sequels here. Come on, man.
Even like Christmas Vacation 2 is terrible. But I'm going to go in this case, since we're going the original here, Frosty versus Christmas Vacation. I'm going to have to side with Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, all right. I thought for sure Frosty the Snowman was about to come out of his mouth.
I don't know. There was a long pause there.
And in my head, I was going to think of a different F word.
Frosty the Snowman.
Fantastic.
Fantastic snowman.
Fantastic. Yep.
All right.
It.
So
that
Christmas Vacation moves on.
Yep. Christmas Vacation is the winner there. Okay. Then you have Charlie Brown against the Santa Claus.
Oh, this is the Santa Claus for me. I think the Santa Claus is a very underrated Christmas movie. It's very enjoyable. I think it holds up as an adult. There's some stuff in there I didn't pick up on as a kid that's funny. Bernard the Elf. I enjoy Bernard quite a bit.
Bernard the Elf.
And I like to say it that way sometimes.
Bernard. Hey,
Bernard.
Wow. Yeah, Charlie in that movie is like the cutest kid.
And he's surprisingly not.
I promise I'll take really good care of it.
Super annoying. Like some kids in those movies are like really annoying. He's pretty steady. Like I don't mind him. So gotta go Santa Claus here.
And once you get to Santa Claus 2 and you see Chet the reindeer.
So like I said, I'm not here for the sequels.
Santa Claus 2 is better than Santa Claus 1.
Oh, that's not accurate. Come on.
100%.
Come on.
The story is great. I mean, that's a movie that got better as it went. In terms of for the sequel. Now, the third one with Jack Frost, give or take. Santa Claus 2, that's an icon. Kind of like Home Alone 2. I like Home Alone 2 more than Home Alone.
That's a terrible take.
Not at all.
That is
not at all. The Lost in New York version of Home Alone
take.
Was fantastic.
These are awful takes.
Santa Claus will move on for me as well, and then you have Santa Claus is Coming to Town and Home Alone to build out the final.
I got Home Alone here. Home Alone is an elite Christmas movie. That's a no-brainer for me.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town or Home Alone.
You got 10 seconds. You got to figure it out.
Can I speak? Shane, come get your man. I'm going to go with Home Alone.
There we go. Home Alone moves on. We've got a Final Four. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little more Army-Navy football, but at 9 o'clock, we will knock out this Christmas bracket here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla. Andrew Rogers here with me. We're brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook and Casino. Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. You can do it at the casino in Lincoln or at Horseman's Park here in Omaha. They've got straight bets, parlays, props, live in-game bets. You can bet on nearly every major sporting event, and you can download the Warhorse Casino app to build your bet and then go to either the casino or Horseman's Park to place that bet in person. You can also get the full list of details and house rules on that app as well, or go to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook. Warhorse Casino Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. We are joined now on that Warhorse Sportsbook hotline by Bill Wagner. He covers Navy sports for the Capital Gazette. Bill, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Good to be with you all.
Bill, we're having a bit of a debate this morning over Christmas movies. Do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, goodness gracious. I always loved The Grinch.
Which one?
I'll say which one, though. There's so many.
My favorite now is with, oh, God, I'm going brain dead. The comedian, Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, the live one.
See, that's my favorite, too. I like that one as well, Bill. Good choice. We won't put you on the spot with any more Christmas questions.
Christmas hot takes.
But
they're already coming after me.
Yeah, that's
the barbarians are at the gate, Bill.
During Army Navy week.
Well, I wanted to start there's obviously a lot of, I don't know if pageantry is the right word, but there's a lot that goes on coming up to the game other than just the football game, a lot of other activities and things like that. What is your favorite part about this week and everything leading up to the game?
Well, just it's a 2-week process, really, when you think about it, because both teams always have at least 2 weeks to prepare. In this instance, Army has 3 weeks, but the hype builds and builds and builds, and there's so much tradition. Like here in Annapolis, every year there's the Army-Navy cocktail party that the local touchdown club of Annapolis holds on Wednesday night. And they have the Navy athletic director and the head coach there. And then there's the Army-Navy pep rally on campus with a big bonfire. So it's just so many events. And then you get to the game, and it's a spectacle from start to finish with the brigade of midshipmen and the Corps of Cadets march on. And then, the flyovers of both Army and Navy air type aircraft. So it's just so many things, and it's the same stuff every year, but it never gets old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that take. It's something that I look forward to each and every Army-Navy weekend. Now, in terms of the game itself, Bill, the midshipmen hold the all-time edge in the series, but aren't the favorites to win it this time around. We know this game will be run heavy, but were you shocked to see that the line was at 3 points and not closer to a pick 'em?
Well, that line has moved because I believe it opened at right around 2 points or a little more. I think all goes back to how both teams fared against Air Force. Army, they played that game in Denver at the Broncos at NFL Stadium, but Army beat Air Force fairly handily in what would be considered a home game for Air Force. And then at Navy, Navy hosted Air Force and did not fare well, and Air Force won that game fairly convincingly. So the combined results against the common opponent, I think, are what most bettors and the odds makers are looking at.
Bill, I'm curious, kind of going back a year, Navy made the decision to move on from Ken Niumatalolo, who had been there for a really long time, been really successful there, then hit a rough patch for a few years toward the end of his tenure. Just from being on the ground there, kind of in that situation, what sort of went into that decision? Because he kind of became synonymous with Navy football, at least in, kind of the 21st century. What went into the decision to decide to move on from him as he struggled the last few years?
Well, obviously, that's been a very controversial topic ever since this time last year. There are a lot of people who don't believe that Ken Niumatalolo should have been let go, that he's the all-time winningest coach in Navy football history. He's done so many great things, and they've been through a rough patch, but many felt he deserved the opportunity to turn things around. But, I guess the other way to look at it is they'd had 5 losing seasons in the span of 6. 2019 was the outlier. They went 11-2, captured the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and upset Kansas State in the Liberty Bowl. But that was because quarterback Malcolm Perry, who ended up playing in the NFL, he was like Superman that year and rushed for over 2,000 yards and was a big play, a touchdown, breakaway touchdown run waiting to happen. So take that away, and the offense, the triple option offense of which Ken Niumatalolo is known, had really stumbled and sputtered, and they had not performed well offensively for 4 of the 5 seasons previously. So, and then losing to Army and Navy. The record against the 2 service academy rivals was not good.
Bill, where Navy has the edge this year over Army is their run defense. Who are some of the big names that make them special in that department?
The Navy defense you're talking about?
Yep, the Navy defense. Navy's run defense is really good.
Oh, their front seven's fantastic. And it starts up front. Their defensive line has been outstanding. Donald Biscuit Bernard, the nose guard, is a very unsung guy. He hasn't 4-year starter, but never made All-American Athletic Conference honors. Clay Cromwell, the defensive tackle, and Jacob Reed, the defensive end, have been outstanding. And then the inside linebackers, Will Harbor and Colin Ramos, have both been excellent.
Bill, as we kind of look at this particular game, you mentioned that result that Army had against Air Force, their biggest win of the year against a very good Air Force team. Both teams come into this game at 5-6 and looking for bowl eligibility. How much does that add to an already intense rivalry?
Well, neither of them are going to a bowl, obviously,
Right.
Bowls are selected, but being bowl eligible, having 500 records means a lot. More than anything, being able to say that you beat Army or you beat Navy means a ton in recruiting when these two institutions go at each other in terms of finding talent. There are so many players on both rosters where the only Division I schools that recruited them were Army and Navy and sometimes Air Force as well. But the service academies vie for the same talent pool, and it is absolutely crucial to be able to walk into a recruit's home and say, we beat Army and we're on the rise. We're the service academy. You want to come to play for us because we're the ones that win. So to me, that's more crucial than, bowl eligibility or 500 records. It's the recruiting aspect, which is absolutely the most important.
Bill, this weekend's all about the tradition, as you kind of opened up with, but it's also a heavy weekend in terms of just creating memories. And in terms of the memories you've created over your time covering this game and this team, what would you say has kind of been your top moment of covering the Army-Navy game?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I think I've covered somewhere around 30 games. I didn't used to be the Navy beat writer, but I was at the newspaper and I would write a sidebar or a notes column or some sort of, additional story at the game. So I did about 6 or 7 games as the backup writer, and I've been the lead writer ever since 2001. There's been a lot of memories. It's impossible to pick any one game because they're all so special in their own right. But, I guess maybe the first one, because, it was actually the second. The first one was not memorable. That was the year that Navy went winless. Coach Charlie Weatherby was fired after the season. But my first game as the lead beat writer in which Navy won was Paul Johnson's first season. And it had been a rough season. They finished 2-10, but everything came together against Army and they beat them 58-12. Craig Candido ran wild. So that game was very memorable.
Bill, as we have just about a minute left here with you, what in your mind are a couple of keys for Navy to come away with the victory on Saturday?
They got to move the ball offensively. That's been the struggle all season. Have not been able to sustain drives and score points. They're going to have to put the offense together and produce, which has just been a struggle. That was what happened against Air Force. They didn't score any points until the very end when the game was decided. So to me, it's all about the offense for Navy. Defense has proven it can get the job done. It'll hold Army to a reasonable number, but you've got to score some points.
Bill Wagner covering Navy football for the Capital Gazette. Bill, we thank you so much for your time and enjoy covering the game this weekend.
Thanks so much, guys. Really, really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Bill.
That is Bill Wagner from the Capital Gazette on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline. Really good stuff from Bill there. Want to remind you about Alumni Hall. If we're doing Christmas movies, you got to do some Christmas shopping too.
Yes, you do.
And all the Husker fans on your list need to be looking at Alumni Hall for them. Make Santa's life a little bit easier. Do some of the legwork and go to Alumni Hall. They've got all things, whether it's for him, for her, for the kids, or for the dog. Alumni Hall has you covered. 2 great locations in Lincoln, one in downtown on P Street or in South Point Pavilion. Or if you're like me, do your shopping online at alumnihall.com and get 20% off your Alumni Hall purchase with the code UNL Holiday. all one word, no spaces, UNL Holiday.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla, Andrew Rogers here. We're on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, as well as KFOR in Lincoln for hour number 3.
Is this a little bit more festive?
I don't know.
Festive. I still don't
I'm bopping.
recognize it as a Christmas song, but it feels it feels like one of those songs they might use in a Hallmark Christmas movie.
No, this song, now that I'm thinking about it, feels more like I'm at a festival. Like
a Christmas festival?
Yeah. Like just kind of bouncing up
like
and
one
down.
of those like Bavarian villages that they set up?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I'd like see like the little ornaments in the window.
Little Christmas village. We are continuing. We're down to the final four.
Final four.
In our Christmas movie.
We had an 11
bracket.
Move on.
We had the 11 seed move. Which one was that? Was that Santa Claus?
Santa Claus. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean,
technically it was a 3 because
right.
but there were 4 3 seeds, so we just went
like,
1 to 16.
It's like the NCAA baseball tournament, right? Like there's a bunch of 3 seeds, but they're really like 11 through 12,
right?
Whatever. We probably underseeded the Santa Claus a little bit, but there were a lot of other classics ahead of it, so. It is what it is.
Had some upsets.
We like to see, the underdogs come through here, and the Santa Claus is holding up the underdogs right now.
You got a juggernaut of a matchup.
All right, what do we have here?
Elf and Christmas Vacation.
Oh.
Not as much for you as it is for me.
It's not a question.
This is a juggernaut.
So my buddy was texting me. Shout out to Ben because I know he's listening. He was he was very upset about my Christmas Vacation takes. And
good, as he should be.
What we figured out is I don't like Chevy Chase. That's my issue here.
Chevy Chase doesn't like you.
That's fair. I heard
he doesn't like most people.
I heard he doesn't like a lot of people. I heard he's kind of an a-hole, if we're being honest here. Can I say that on the radio, Shane? I don't know.
The blessing.
You can say anything once.
Okay, cool. Don't tell me that, Shane.
Okay, cool. Boop, 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 boop.
The
Chevy Chase.
Okay, so typically, if you're a, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Like James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says he's a teddy bear. He says he's just the nicest guy ever, but he's also played two of the most recognized, or at least one of the most recognizable bad guys, villains. I mean,
he's Darth Vader.
He's Darth Vader. So
he's also
you're kind of just you're really good actors are just the opposite of what they are personality wise.
Why don't you just knock on the door? I would have gotten it for you.
So if Chevy Chase is a hole, like you said,
you're the ones making all that racket. Yeah, I've heard Chevy Chase is not a fun guy to be around, and it's not even that.
But it doesn't come off that way in the movies, though.
Yeah, it's not even that.
Well, because he's acting,
and that's what makes him a good actor.
That's not even why I don't like him, is that he's a jerk in real life. I just don't think he's funny. I've never thought he was funny. One of my other buddies is like one of his favorite movies of all time is Fletch, and so I watched it because he was like building it up. He's like, "Oh, it's this great, hilarious movie," and I watched it. And
it is so funny.
What am I doing here?
Hey, Griswold, what you gonna do with a tree that big?
It's not for me. So this is an easy elf for me. It is a no brainer, no doubter for me. I know you're gonna have some feelings though, so let's hear it.
It's Christmas Vacation for me,
Shane.
And the reason it's Christmas Vacation for me is because it's my favorite movie. It's my favorite Christmas movie. Elf is like up there. Elf is top 3 for me in terms of favorite Christmas movies, but the third favorite Christmas movie can't beat your favorite. Now, that won't resonate well with my fiance, whose favorite Christmas movie is Elf.
Yeah, where's Ashley? Ashley, call in. We need some but I need some reinforcements here, Ashley.
Christmas Vacation has so many great one-liners. It's so sarcastic. I love the dry humor. Yeah, that's why I rest with that. Shane, you are the ultimate decider, though, here. The only reason Christmas Vacation got this far, too, is because I used my trump card.
Yeah.
And if I didn't use the trump card, I ran the risk of Shane picking a Muppet Christmas Carol over it.
Which is a better movie. Full stop.
Muppet Christmas Carol's solid.
Muppet Christmas Carol is a classic.
Yeah, it's right up Shane's alley.
Chevy Chase just isn't funny to me at all. I don't enjoy it.
Have you said that already?
I'm not a fan. Shane, what do we have?
Well, I mean, you said Christmas Vacation has the one-liners, but everybody says Elf has the one-liners.
Elf has a lot of quotable.
Elf has great one-liners. But the way
you're so pretty, you should be on a Christmas card.
And there's
so the Christmas Vacation quickly is my humor. That's my personality.
Yeah.
So that's why it's funnier to me than Elf. Like Elf has some great one-liners and I laugh at it, but it's not like my personality.
Sure.
So that's why.
And then
go ahead.
And then on the other side, you have the two main actors there. You have Chevy Chase and Will Ferrell. And some people, obviously, as we know, don't find Chevy Chase being funny. But then there are also people that don't find Will Ferrell as being funny.
Well, those people are wrong, but that's fine.
So, I mean, you have two similar movies here, and that makes it this makes it a giant battle right here.
You gotta pick, my guy.
I'm gonna go with Christmas Vacation.
Yeah! Terrible. What a stunner!
Terrible.
Stunner! Terrible. All right!
This is a trash bracket. I'm lodging a formal protest.
Shane,
what are you doing?
Unbelievable. Did not see that coming. He took his headset off so he can't hear you now.
Doing,
it's like he's not in the room. He's in his little Snoopy house.
You paid him off? How dare you?
Yeah, baby.
All right, what's next? I don't even want to do this anymore.
Good. I'm happy you don't want to do this anymore.
Next?
Come on.
Christmas Vacation's trash.
We have the Santa Claus
trash
against. No, Santa Claus is a great movie.
No,
I hate that you. No. Hey, let's go back and run the tape there, Shane. Let's just cut that up right there.
Trash.
I said the Santa Claus, and Robbie went a trash movie. He did use a trash can lid to get down a hill very fast into a Walmart parking lot. All right, the Santa Claus against Home Alone.
I don't have a strong preference here in terms of which one I think is better. I enjoy the Santa Claus more. I think it's more fun for me to watch. I'll be honest, Home Alone's really, really good and I really enjoy it. There was a part of me when I was a kid watching it that was a little stressed out because I was afraid I'd be forgotten somewhere. There's a little bit of stress for me as a child. So it probably wasn't as fun for me to watch as the Santa Claus. Maybe that's the root of my anxiety is Home Alone. Probably not. But I'm going to go Santa Claus here. I just like it a little bit better. But I don't think there's a wrong answer here, unlike the last round.
In this side of the bracket, you have the 11, the Santa Claus. Home Alone is the favorite. I chose to go against the grain and choose away from Elf in the previous round, which was the favorite. I'm going with the favorite this round. It's Home Alone. Home Alone, I as you said, both movies are great. I enjoy them. But Home Alone was such a creative way to take down, were they the Wet Bandits at the time?
Yeah, they were the Wet Bandits.
The Wet Bandits at the time. And like I said, I prefer the Sticky Bandits. That's just a personal preference. The Wet Bandits and just his way to just kind of make their lives miserable was just ultra creative. Home Alone takes it home for me. And
we're leaving it in Shane's hands.
We put it back in Shane's
We've left a lot of faith in Shane today, and I don't know how I feel
we
about
only
that.
gave each other one trump card, and that's the beauty of this whole bracket.
Yeah, we both blew them early.
Yeah, I can't believe you blew it on Frosty the Snowman.
I hate A Christmas Story.
But that shocks me because even if would you have chosen? You chose Christmas Vacation over Frosty, right? Or did you choose Frosty?
I choose Frosty.
You chose Frosty?
Shane
Okay.
Christmas Vacation.
So Shane
is really
he's trumped you twice.
He's really carrying the water for Christmas Vacation.
Wow. All right.
But the funny thing is I hate Christmas Story.
That's good.
Yeah, Christmas Story is a bad movie.
So you probably didn't need to use your trump card there.
Well, I didn't know that, Shane. I didn't collude with you the way Andrew apparently did.
Relax.
He came over to collect his bribe a minute
Relax.
ago. Shane, all right, so we've got Home Alone or Santa Claus.
Go warm up next to your coal over
Well,
there.
it's easy. It's Home Alone.
All right.
I mean, you got to go with them. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Home Alone. I think they're both very good.
And this is where it gets wild again because it'll fall back into Shane's court.
Yeah, it's going to be Shane again because I'm not picking Christmas Vacation. You're going to pick Christmas Vacation because it's your favorite.
So the final, before we pick, Christmas Vacation against Home Alone. This was all based off personal preference. It's Andrew and Ravi's preference, and then Shane's trump card.
And then,
end.
Shane just ruining everything.
We chose the movies. Yes, there's plenty of other movies that could have been included on this list.
But not Die Hard because it's not a Christmas
But not
movie.
Die Hard. And we had to make it small because, as you know, we've already taken up nearly 3 segments of this show, and there was only 16 movies to start. The final, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone. You are choosing Home Alone.
Obviously.
I am choosing Christmas Vacation. Shane, do you have a drum roll? Get a drum roll going for yourself here.
I don't know. I got.
They told me. Pum.
Will this work?
That's not a drum.
I feel like that was more like Peanuts Christmas music.
that was
like what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, this is a little Christmassy. Like I could do that. All right, Shane, what are we doing here?
Well, I'm getting a drum roll. I was trying to buy myself some time.
Oh, as we know. As you
buy your, are you ready to go? Let's go.
No. As I buy myself some time.
All
What do you got?
As David mentions on Twitter here, very good point. If Die Hard is a Christmas movie, so is Gremlins and Edward Scissorhands, which neither of which get, because they all kind of happen around Christmas.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're including Die Hard, you have to include those other two, and nobody includes the other two, right?
Right.
So, plain and simple, thank you, David. Terrific point. Not a Christmas movie.
Gremlins
my man,
definitely is.
David Haig. Man, I miss that guy. So David, he works for Mount. Oh, see, I got it wrong when I Mount.
His Twitter profile says Mount Athletics.
The Mount, but it's Mount St. Mary's. See,
Mount
I always
St.
want to say Mount Marty because that's the school in South Dakota.
Yes, yeah.
But Mount St. Mary's, and
Different place.
He used to work at UNO. Great take there, David. Great take.
Appreciate the support there, David. All right, Shane, we bought you as much time as we could.
There it is.
What am I to?
Oh my gosh, Shane.
Christmas Vacation, Home Alone. It's that simple.
I need you to listen to the show a little bit.
Let me tell you the difference between the two.
Oh, no, we don't need it. We've already talked about the difference between the two.
One movie, you've got family coming together. The other movie, you got family spreading out and leaving one kid behind. I'm more for, I know kids are a tough hang.
He's more for staying at home alone.
I know kids are a tough hang, but I'm more for the family coming together and going with Christmas Vacation.
Let's go! Where are the fireworks? The confetti cannon. Shoot them off.
You can do the last 45 minutes by yourself.
Here we go.
Trash.
Let's get it, Shane.
Total trash. We should never have left this in the hands of Shane.
Come on.
Next year when we do the best Christmas songs of all time, we have to find a better tiebreaker than Shane.
I like Shane as the tiebreaker.
So all we learned here is that Shane has trash taste in movies. That's fine.
All we learned today is Christmas Vacation is
terrible.
The winner
of
the Christmas movie bracket.
Chevy Chase, very punchable face. Very punchable.
Hey, it doesn't matter. His movie won. And you know what?
He is
even
he was the king of slapstick humor, so punchable is fine.
I would like to slap him. Yeah, that's accurate. That's fine. All right, that is your Christmas movie bracket. We hope you enjoyed all of our nonsense today. Matt says, I don't think I've heard Ravi this dejected. You're right. Brent, no, Shane, disgraceful. Again, you're right. Travis, I've never agreed more with Ravi than I have today. Again, Travis, you're right. I'm glad I have some support in YouTube because I've got nothing on the H&H Chevrolet stage.
Yeah, well,
nothing
you're
at
wrong.
all.
This is what happens.
YouTube says I'm right here.
YouTube. I guess we're trusting the internet now.
Well, listen, it's better than trusting Shane.
No way. Shane's got it.
All right. That is our Christmas movie bracket. We hope you enjoyed our nonsense. We're going to
real fast. Eric says Shane needs to create a bracket now, and we argue the winners.
I would never have heard of the movies that Shane puts on the bracket because they'd all be like 80s movies that were obscure, and he'd be like, let's do Gremlins 2 here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no thanks.
The Lost Batch. Gremlins 2, The Lost Batch.
But we would have to start this thing like 6 months in advance so we could actually watch the movies that Shane picks because we'd never heard of them before.
All I see are some salty individuals, and you know what? If you're looking for a good salty snack, maybe pair it with Christmas Vacation this year when you watch the winner of this year's Christmas bracket.
Not going to watch it ever.
It's all right. I'm just going to keep sending you clips.
That's fine. I'll just put you on mute. It's fine. That is, like I said, that's our Christmas movie bracket. We enjoyed doing that. Well, I did until the end there, and then everybody ruined it. But we're going to abruptly change gears here because we've still got time left in the segment.
And you have to calm down, right?
And I need to talk about something that's not going to upset me so much. So, well, before we get to the one of the topics I had planned here, it does seem like there is a lot of momentum for Kyle McCord, just like apparently there was a lot of momentum for Christmas vacation inexplicably. But there was a lot of momentum for Kyle McCord to Nebraska. There is a rumor out there that he is scheduling a visit for early next week. We are fairly certain that him and Marcus Satterfield have had contact. And I believe Marcus Satterfield is rumored to have been in Columbus talking to McCord about the Nebraska quarterback position. Obviously, that's one of the highest profile quarterbacks on the market. And when you look at his stats from this year, you know, it's hard to argue with the numbers that he put up. Now, you put the caveat in there of Ohio State's supporting cast, a lot better than Nebraska.
Marvin Harrison is a pretty good player.
Not bad. Now, I do think so.
Marvin Harrison Jr. Yes, his dad was also a very good player,
but did not catch passes from Kyle McCord. So I do think this would be a good get for Nebraska for sure. Obviously, a very high quality player here. I'm still hoping they get a younger guy like a Sam Levitt to bring in as well. But if Nebraska gets Kyle McCord, I think you're instantly talking about at least seven wins minimum. And I don't think that's crazy.
No question.
Even with a different supporting cast, honestly, this is what we talked about so much throughout the year. Even with average quarterback play, this Nebraska team probably wins 2 or 3 more games. Kyle McCord is better than that. He is better than average quarterback play, I think, pretty clearly. 66% completion percentage, over 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. That's a 4-to-1 ratio, by the way. That's a number that we like. And almost 10 yards per attempt on his passing. Kyle McCord, if Nebraska lands him, that's an enormous get.
Yeah, it's a great signing. But also note that Nebraska's able to get a signing like that because of the world we live in today, because of the NIL world.
Yeah.
That's when you have resources, that's really it.
Yeah.
You can get the big names. You don't have to be the biggest programs anymore to get the biggest names, because now a little bit, well, more like a lot of it is about paying a player to be your star at your university. Like, that's it. That's half the battle.
And currently the way that we do that is through the collectives and through the NIL. But one of the things that we wanted to get to was there's been a proposal put out there.
Yeah, that was
and you made a TikTok video about it, which I appreciate because the articles were very confusing.
All of them. It is so. I read 10 articles, man,
and I still don't exactly know what the proposal is. What I think okay, so this is where I landed. Tell me if I'm crazy or not, because you deep dove into this thing, which I really appreciate. What I took away from this was this is sort of a mechanism to create the Power 5 Super League. Now they're doing it through this umbrella of opting into paying players directly from the universities. And the way it seemed to me was more the universities taking control over the NIL process rather than letting it be farmed out to boosters and collectives and things like that. So they get more direct control over the process.
You don't have to worry about the collective.
Yes, you don't have these go-betweens that can make things a little messy sometimes. If you're Nebraska, you can directly control this, but you have to opt into it and commit a certain amount of money per player, per sport, per university, whatever. And that basically would create the haves and have-nots, the Super League of college football, which I think is the way this has been going for a while. I guess I didn't expect it to necessarily look like this, because one of the other big pieces of this proposal is those teams that opt in get to create their own rules. They get to create their own scholarship limits, transfer rules,
roster sizes,
all of that now goes from NCAA control, even though it's technically under the NCAA umbrella.
Right.
But it goes from NCAA control to Super League control. And so that to me was as interesting. And I'll one more thing before I let you go here.
No, you're good. You're breaking it down just perfectly.
The other thing that I think is super interesting here has nothing to do with college football, and that's the schools that opt into this have to be Title IX compliant with the money. So it demands resources would go to volleyball and women's basketball and things like that in the same proportion that they go to football and men's basketball and baseball, which I think is really, really interesting. And for a place like Nebraska that has some dominant women's programs, this could be a really good deal for Nebraska.
Yeah, it's perfect for a school like Nebraska. As for a school like we'll just take Alabama, for example, maybe a little bit more difficult to navigate the Title IX, because capitalism is a real thing, right? Like if you are performing at the best at your job, you should get paid more than the next person, right? And it's a minimum of like $30,000 per year per athlete, which is required. But there is no cap on how much you choose to pay somebody.
$30,000.
You just have to match
entrance fee.
So like if Ravi is worth $200,000 to me, I can give Ravi $200,000, but I also have to find an equitable person, a female athlete, to give $200,000 to.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would have to be person to person, but the totals would have to be
the totals
same.
have to somehow add 50-50. Up. Yeah, 50-50 for male and female sports. So it's interesting that schools that may not have like top tier volleyball programs or
like where are they going to put that money?
But they may have top tier women's soccer programs,
and it may force them to invest in order to justify spending that amount of money on female athletes because they have to if they want to pay their football players. It may force them to take their women's sports more seriously and elevate those programs, which I think is a really interesting consequence of this proposal. Now, it is just a proposal, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see something at least similar to this model that actually does get enacted, because this does seem like the natural next step to where things have been headed.
Right, but in year one of Charlie Baker, to get this on the ballot so quickly is his kind of way of saying, I'm not messing around.
Yeah.
I know that we're taking this next step. But the big part of this is, yes, the power, it's probably going to be more of a Power 4 now.
Yeah.
The Power 4 schools are wanting to create this super league to where they can
make their own rules.
Well, they can just use the resources they have, and they're not hindered by the schools on the low end of FBS or Division I football, to where like you're waiting for them to catch up so that you can maybe use a little bit more. And this has kind of been a fight that, or more like a tug of war match of, okay, now it's my turn. Okay, now I got to wait. Now it's my turn. Now I got to wait. And it's just going to be like, no, now it's just going to be like, hey, if you can do it, you're going to do it. And if you can't do it, you're going to stay here.
Well, and it makes sense, right? Because in the top levels of Division I football are further separated from the bottom levels of Division I football than I think like the FCS is, even from Division II.
I will say, though, smaller schools are going to take a hit here. Like, especially in basketball, we may not see the FAUs of the world making deep runs in the NCAA tournament because of a change like this. You won't see those Cinderella teams. And that irks me a little bit. That aches me.
There will be some unintended consequences. Coming up next, we've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla. Andrew Rogers here with me. We are live on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. I'm glad our guy TK finally chimed in this morning. I was about to have a wellness check sent out on him. I don't think we'd heard from him yet today, so glad TK is alive.
Yeah,
and well in the comments.
He could stay out of the comments with that one. I'm cool with it.
I mean, he's wrong. He's dead wrong, but that's fine.
Oh, he's never wrong.
Oh, I mean, on this one, he's wrong. We appreciate everybody's very strong opinions about the Christmas movie bracket that we did throughout the show here today.
But see, that's the best part about Christmas movie brackets is everybody's so opinionated on their favorite Christmas movies that when you look at a bracket, all brackets, any bracket created, you're like, this is ridiculous. Like, what? This is absolutely insane.
Christmas Vacation, still trash. Even if it won.
All I heard was it won.
It did win, unfortunately. Shane had way too much power, as we've learned, cannot be trusted with it. So we'll fix that next time. We'll take the power out of Shane's hands. That was a mistake. That's our fault.
Come on, Shane.
That was our fault.
It was your fault.
We didn't think about it.
No, I thought well into it.
All right. Well, that's my bad. I will never make that mistake again.
No, it was profitable.
We've got a little baseball to get to, which is not
a little rumor,
not common in December here in Nebraska, but probably the best player in baseball, certainly best all-around player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, is a free agent, and there's reports that his signing could be imminent, and we have heard bubkiss on where he's headed.
Yeah,
it's been a
nobody talk about Shohei.
A shroud of secrecy and mystery, which is very strange.
It is, because don't you want to get people talking? Don't you want to get leverage across other Major League Baseball teams? So, maybe in turn you get more money.
Maybe he doesn't need leverage. Maybe the numbers are already so high. He's just like, yeah, this is about right. Listen, you could probably always get more, but maybe for him, the numbers are so high that he wants to get the right team, because it's like, okay, for him, and I understand the numbers we're about to talk about are absolutely bonkers.
What, 600 million's bonkers?
Yeah, but like, what's the difference between 450 and 500? Like, practically, right? Is there anything you can't buy with $450 million that you can buy with $500 million? I mean, about $50 million worth of stuff.
Yeah,
but
I could think of a lot.
Once you're in that realm of money, to certain people it would matter more. Like, hey, I want to be in the right place. I want to be in a place I'm going to enjoy, a place where I feel comfortable, because you already have a filthy amount of money.
Right, but other incentives come with it too. Like, you could even get like ownership stakes in teams, and things like that. So that's kind of what I think about with leverage. I'm just thinking back to other like big deals in terms of, like, when the Cardinals didn't re-sign Pujols because they didn't want to give him what he wanted.
Yeah.
So he got the $300 million deal with the Angels, and then you had even like the Harper deal in Philly, and so like there are these big deals.
What I'm wondering though is, so Shohei seems like a pretty private person. We don't know a ton about him.
Well, yeah, he's so private that when he was asked after winning the MVP, holding his dog, what's his dog's name? This is how ridiculous this story is. He didn't feel comfortable sharing his dog's name, which in turn only tells me it's the team name of where he's going next. And that's why he didn't want to share it yet.
The dog's name is Philly.
Toronto.
Is Jay. No, but he's like a pretty private person. So I wonder if this is all happening, like the leverage and the negotiations is all happening, but he's basically just gone to him and be like, hey, I don't like my business out there. If I hear a rumor and I think it came from you, you're out. And that would give them plenty of incentive not to say a word, right? And if his agent is already getting the leverage against people that he wants to, you don't have to go public with that, because that's usually why the stuff goes public, right? The Bryce Harper stuff went public because Scott Boras wanted more money than was currently being offered. The Manny Machado stuff, the same way. You brought up Pujols. A lot of these go public because they feel like they need public pressure to get the amount of money that they want. Maybe the agent, and because of his skill set with Ohtani, is so high that they're getting the leverage they want without public pressure.
And that's probably what it is, just because of Ohtani's name. Heath brought up the point of, you got to remember how they do business or the overseas, like they just do it differently. And I'm with you there. But when you're in the States, this is how business is done. And unless you do it this way, you're not going to get the most out of your usually your client. In this case, it's the exception to the rule.
I also wonder if, because it doesn't seem like Anaheim is in the mix, usually the public pressure is put on about, oh, he really wants to stay home, but Anaheim's not phoning up.
Anaheim did it to themselves too,
right?
Because they aren't a winning franchise,
right?
So it's like, I'm not going to ruin his career like we did Mike Trout,
right? But you know what I mean. So it's one of those things where I think because the staying at the team he's currently on isn't really an option, that the public leverage play doesn't make as much sense either. Because a lot of times it is, either the home team will leak something to try and get fans kind of riled up to be like, hey, just, we're offering almost as much, just take the deal, whatever. that's not a factor here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that matters too.
Yeah, I just don't know if it matters like throughout the process of talking about the teams that you visited.
Yeah. I don't know.
And he made it seem like it was a huge deal when Dave Roberts answered a reporter's question saying that he had a conversation with Shohei Ohtani, or the team has.
Yeah.
And Shohei didn't like that, and Roberts came out and apologized for it. Now, maybe because that's the in-town rival team, that could be, but it just doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal to say like, hey, I had a phone call with the Texas Rangers. I had a phone call with Toronto. I mean, these sources get leaked one way or another.
Yeah. Well, and maybe it's just how he,
it is probably a business thing, Heath. You're probably right. It's probably just how he's
used to things,
he's
how
used
he's
to doing
comfortable with things. And I think it's his personality way too, right? Like, I mean, this is
not telling me your dog's name though. I was a little upset.
I don't like that. I want to know about all the dogs, all the good dogs.
I can't wait till it comes out and his name's Toronto.
That's the current rumor, is that he may be signing with the Blue Jays, but I honestly don't think anybody knows.
Well, it's a rumor because there was a Reddit thread that took place, and the comment was, so a Twitter user has found a private jet leaving Anaheim for Toronto tomorrow morning.
See, we've done this with coaching searches here in Nebraska before. We've done this with coaches trying to figure out which quarterbacks they're visiting in the portal. I will just say this. The private plane tracking is not infallible. It misses a decent amount. So even if you've got the tail number, even if you know what you're looking for, having followed recruits and coaches, I mean, we just went through this with Rule last year, right? You're on the message board, you're figuring out, okay, this flight's going here, and this. Listen, the planes get used for other stuff, guys.
Yes, but as they went through it, they found the plane owner, they found the tail number, they found everything, and then they found Ohtani standing in front of that plane with a bag in hand. And I'm not saying that, like you said, it's foolproof.
Well, and listen, maybe he's visiting Toronto. Maybe that doesn't. I'm sure he's visited other places too, or maybe. He's such a crazy person.
He's just visiting Toronto around the winter meetings.
Maybe he's such a crazy person about his privacy that he's flying to Toronto and driving somewhere else in the Northeast to go to where he wants to go.
Can you imagine? He crosses the border to then cross the border again.
He goes over to like, I mean, not just because it's me, just maybe Boston, maybe think about to go over to the Red Sox. I don't know. But no, it's, obviously there's a lot of reasons he could be going to Toronto. Doesn't necessarily mean he's signing there, but it certainly could. I don't think we know anything about the situation. So
this also says,
would you name your dog Red Sox, by the way?
No, that's a terrible dog name.
So this
I'd
also
name
says
dog Boston, though.
Tomorrow is a day of luck in Japanese culture, and it's also the day he signed with the Angels back in 2017.
It wouldn't surprise me if he signs tomorrow. Maybe it's Toronto. Maybe it's just a visit. Maybe it's a red herring to throw people off. I don't know. Ohtani kind of seems like he would think it's funny to mess with people a little bit. Like, am I crazy?
I don't know. I don't know his personality all too much. I know he likes to have fun with his teammates, and during the All-Star game, he was having fun with a lot of the Japanese players, and they were signing autographs and things. So he's not somebody that is like, hey, I'm a jerk.
Yeah, he's not a joyless person. He's just very private. So I could see him thinking it's kind of funny that everybody's so obsessed with like tracking his planes and stuff that he's like, all right, we're going to throw you off a little bit. That's a little bit of a prankster move.
Oh, get this.
Uh-oh.
The charter plane was lying dormant in Oakland for weeks. and that was when Ohtani was seen visiting the Giants. So
I don't know.
This Reddit thread is kind of crazy.
Coming up next, we've got Matt Vrzal here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How did that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show here on a Friday, cleaning up the show, if you will, the Warhorse Sportsbook cleanup with our guy, Matt Vrzal, on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. Verz, how are you this morning?
Bottom through, Shane. There he is.
How are you this morning, Verz?
Good, boys. How we doing?
Good.
We are doing all right. Before we get into sports things, we've been talking a lot about Christmas movies this morning. Do you have a favorite go-to Christmas movie?
Well, before we get into that, my condolences to you and your family on everything that has happened in the past week or so, my man.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Yep. Christmas movies. Christmas Vacation.
My man.
Oh, come
See, I knew Verz. Verz and I were on the same level.
About number 3 on the list. A Christmas Story is number 1.
Oof. Okay.
Not Ravi's favorite.
Not my fave. Neither one of those are my fave. That's okay though. What's
How could you not like A Christmas Story?
I just never enjoyed it. I don't know. I watched it as a kid, watched it as an adult. Just wasn't for me.
You can't relate to any of that.
I think maybe I was just jealous I never got a BB gun.
See, I did have one of those. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean.
BB guns were sick.
My mom was afraid I was going to shoot my eye out. I never got one.
I think I had a pellet gun. Is that the same thing?
It's in the neighborhood.
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas would be number 2.
What?
Wait, say that again?
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, for those in the Gen X era, they know what that is.
I don't know if I want to search that.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
The Muppet movie.
Oh,
Jim Henson, you clowns.
I am a big Muppet guy. I like Muppet.
I got
Christmas
it. I got
Carol.
it.
You'd like that then.
Yeah, I like.
You would like that.
Okay, I'll check that one out.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Thank you. Thank you,
Verse.
We're all on the same page there. I'm glad we.
It's a great movie nonetheless, but it is not just because it takes place during Christmas does not make it a Christmas movie.
See,
if the theme was more Christmassy, then yes, but it's not.
It's not it just happens to be at Christmas. Verse,
good movie though.
It is a good movie.
Great movie.
Yeah. Nobody's disparaging the movie. Verse, let's get into a little bit of Nebraska football here. Obviously, the transfer portal and quarterbacks are kind of the topic of the day topic of the week or a couple weeks of recent around here. There's a quarterback Nebraska's interested in, Kyle McCord, or appears to be interested in Kyle McCord. And there's some rumors about his dad being a helicopter parent, maybe a little over involved. How big of a concern for you would that be?
It would be the top concern.
Okay.
They're the problem with everything. Like their unrealistic expectation of what their child is the reason sports are where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like legit. And they don't even, like, you tell them the 1% of 1% rule, in one ear, out the other.
Mm-hmm.
They 100% feel that does not apply to them. And then, you get them trying to live through their kid, be it through championship game or dumb trophy won. It means a lot when you're a little guy to win that trophy. In 5 years, them little guys or gals don't even know where them trophies are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're the issue. You had your chance to go do it, and it didn't work out for you. Because you get so involved and you're so over the top with your child, all you do is penalize the child. I'm a Searching for Bobby Fischer guy. You've probably never seen that movie either. The best part of that entire movie, it's about a chess prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
They're like all the parents in the basement at a tournament. It's the greatest piece of cinematic artistry ever. Because they should do that at all these games. They should lock them out and just let the kids play. Just let them have fun, man. Games are fun. Parents make them crazy.
They're supposed to be fun, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Verse, how impressed were you in the offensive line performance this year, and how much of the credit of that goes to Donovan Raiola and Coach Rule for keeping Raiola on this staff after moving on from everybody else last season?
By the end, when they got all the pieces I think they had wanted at the beginning, they rounded into some form. Now there's still quite a ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
And before, you want to get into any quarterback discussions or other player discussions, like your quarterback to finish your season just went to Philadelphia for a surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he wasn't even healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And your offensive line is mid-pack, and I'm being generous. So if you can get your offensive line up to higher end of the pack just in your conference, and then let that kid play, and then get some quarterback coaching where you're kind of allowed to read a defense and throw where guys aren't, then I think you have a different player. Again, I think you have a different outlook. But what's the value? I mean, I'm not being pessimistic here. You're Ohio State. Like, you're really the only team that has a real gripe for not being in the tournament. You lost to number one at number one's house by 3.
Mm-hmm.
How is Ohio State fan not more pissed?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get Florida State being pissed, but they're also not the same team without their starting quarterback. Like, let's just be honest. But Ohio State, you're telling me that you're not just jerking Nebraska around. Like, come on. Like, you're at the top end of the conference, and you're going to go to the middle lower portion of the back of the conference, and that's just reality. That's not being negative. But maybe I guess rules 2 million cleared, and maybe that is a viable option. You're paying your possible transfer quarterback more than your best defensive coordinator you've had in 10 years.
Verz, do you think there might be, kind of going back to that, what you said about those helicopter parents and not really knowing or having a good grasp on the reality of who their kid is? Do you think that might be a factor in, a lot of the credit on Ohio State goes to, Marvin Harrison Jr. or a lot of the other skill position players and the people around Kyle McCord. Do you think any part of it is like, well, I can show you, I can go somewhere else and be just as good? Do you think that maybe factors into why they might make that move?
Could be. There's a possibility that is it, but I just think they don't. You're not raising a team player. Okay? You're not raising someone that wants to be a part of something greater than themselves. You're raising someone that wants to be them to be the showcase. If that's your case, the best thing you could do is, if you're in that situation, is at a presser that, why do you think I came here? Like, I get to throw some of the best receivers coached by the best receivers coach in the country.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of moron would not take this chance? Because all I have to do is, all I can do is get better.
Mm-hmm.
I can improve my game here every day because I'm throwing to better people every day. But that parent doesn't want that to happen. That they want their kid to be the reason it succeeds. They don't want the team to succeed. Mm-hmm. They could care less about the team. Their kid. It's just, people's brains are all effed up when it comes to that stuff. I mean, look at youth organizations.
Yeah.
They're running out of colors for some of these. It's like such and such, for you, taupe, elite, super special. It's like, come on, man. Like, this is really what we're doing. Like, this is where it's at. But everybody's got to go to 4 states. You got to go play in 4 states because they're 6. They're going to remember the hotel, and that's about it.
And the breakfast, was it free?
But all this does, though, is breed that crazy parent.
Yeah.
It breeds that parent. My kid made taupe super elite special team. It's like, okay, well, you're paying him. Like, there's a reason he made it. You got the check cleared. Like, go back to neighborhood ball, pick an all-star team, and roll. I blame Damon being a gladiator. Gladiators ruin the sport. I'm going to see him tonight, too. He's going to be pissed.
I would say, you might get a text about that before we're off the phone here. You mentioned a minute ago about the offensive line and how they had improved, but they still had a ways to go. In your mind, what are those next steps for them to start climbing that ladder from being mid-pack to start getting towards the top of the conference the way you talked about?
I think your main focus is just continue to coach Knighton. Okay, so you got 2 dudes that both should be a 0 technique. Robinson, Hummacher.
Okay.
But you're selfless enough as a player to say, I'm going to go play this 5 technique. Even though I know this does not fit my skill set, you're Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a pretty damn good job. You get exposed on the edge a couple times because they're just faster, but that's okay because you're still in there battling and you're fighting. When you get guys in there and you have depth at that, and now your rotation at that 0 is Huntmacher and Robinson, good luck. A-gap to A-gap. I wish you all the best. Because that dude that has played 75 snaps last year is playing 40 snaps this year. He's rested in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
He's good with it. And now we got a couple guys out on the 5 technique. They're a little, still big, maybe a little quicker, maybe a little faster foot, so you can't roll out and cover, or you can't roll out of the pocket now. And then some coverage might have to lapse because it's a little bit more of a scramble drill. On your offensive line, I thought they missed a huge opportunity to play some young guys for those last 4 games. It bugged me. It bugged me, it bugged me punch the freezer door, which is where I go when I get frustrated in here. I go in the freezer, punch the door a few times and come out. But, that's an opportunity to say, okay, what does our future look like?
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing that can happen for you is that young kid goes in there and does good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the absolute worst.
Mm-hmm.
So go throw them in. It's free. It's a free opportunity to try them. And it's a free opportunity for them to say, hey, I can fit at this, or I got to work on all of this as in the off seasons if I want to even play here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good dose of reality. but that opportunity, in my opinion, was missed. And you got to continue to make that position grouping competitive every day, where you fear for your job every day. And if you go out and you fail at practice and they take your job that day, you better have enough balls in your sack to go earn it back the next day. Like that's what it's got to get to.
Matt Vrzal, terrific stuff as always.
Good
Appreciate
points.
the time, and we will talk to you again next week.
See you, boys.
See you, Verz.
That's our guy, Matt Vrzal. That's our show for the week. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back on Monday here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.